At the Awakening Plaza, a giant LED screen flashed non-stop headlines. Today's best dungeon, White Bone Throne, online adventurers. Newbie Lord survival rate, Warlord 72% versus Dungeon Lord 3%. Trending search: a rookie had awakened an SSS rank unit, the 12-winged angel, and was already being hailed as a future king of angels. At the same time, a flood of memories hit Chen Yu. Just a moment ago, he'd been an exhausted game programmer, pulling another all-nighter and working himself half to death. Now he was here. New world, new body, new life. So yeah, he had transmigrated. After forcing himself to calm down, Chen Yu quickly sorted through the original owner's memories. This was a world of universal lords. Everyone had a chance to awaken and become one. The talented awakened powerful lord classes with ease, the average struggled for years and still got nothing. The original Chen Yu had been one of the average ones. To force an awakening, he had sold his house, taken huge loans, and stuffed himself with drugs, injections, and hormones. In the end, he did awaken. But instead of a warlord, he became a dungeon lord. The shock was too much. The original owner died on the spot. And that was how Chen Yu ended up here. After understanding what a dungeon lord actually was, even Chen Yu felt his head start to hurt. Warlords had it easy: build territory, train troops, expand. Dungeon lords, their lives were hell. They had to build dungeons and deal with adventurers from other worlds. Those adventurers lived off dungeon raids. They chased danger, loot, and resources because their own worlds didn't have enough to survive. So for dungeon lords, adventurers were both prey and customers. Kill them and the dungeon gained resources. Fail to kill them and the territory starved. But if the dungeon was too hard, adventurers would get nothing, go hungry, and never return. If it was too easy, they'd clear it without dying, and the dungeon lord would gain nothing. Either way, it was bad. And without enough resources, the dungeon couldn't keep running. That was why modern dungeons had become absurdly competitive. They weren't just building traps and monsters anymore. They were throwing out events, rewards, gimmicks, and every trick possible to attract adventurers. Everyone get ready, time to move out. At the front of the plaza, a teacher-like man turned and shouted at the crowd. Chen Yu looked around. The place was full of graduates about to head into the dark world. Most had awakened as warlords. Only a small group had become dungeon lords. And all the dungeon lords had been pushed into the same section, looking like a bunch of doomed failures next to the warlords. The contrast was brutal. The warlords were excited, restless, eager to show off. The dungeon lords looked dead inside. Only the rich ones could still keep their heads up. Hey classmate, want to check out Slaughter 3? It's the sequel to Slaughter 1 and Slaughter 2. Guaranteed hit. Want to sign an agency deal? A salesman walked up and handed Chen Yu a flyer. But the moment he saw Chen Yu's face, his expression changed. Oh, it's you. He pulled the flyer back. You still owe our company $200,000. When were you planning to pay that off? He looked Chen Yu up and down, then sneered. Actually, forget it. Judging by that face, you're probably not coming back alive anyway. My bad. At least there's a house left to cover the debt. Then he turned and left. Chen Yu let out a quiet breath. The plaza was packed with people like that, sales reps pushing famous dungeon IPs to desperate rookies. Some were legit. Some were scams. Didn't matter, all of them wanted money. No matter what world it was, being broke still sucked. I already bought the agency rights to a dungeon under Tang Yuan International, someone bragged nearby. The hottest one right now, God of Destruction's punishment. A rich young man strutted toward the teleportation array, chin practically in the sky. When I enter the dark world, I'll be the strongest dungeon lord in this rookie zone. He looked back at the others and smirked. You trash can just wait to die, and don't even think about fighting me for resources. Then he stepped into the array and vanished. The crowd reacted exactly how you'd expect. Chen Yu just sighed. The original owner had struggled for years, sold everything, and nearly destroyed himself just to get here. Meanwhile, some people started with family money, backing, and a top-tier dungeon already in hand. Still, since he was already here, Chen Yu wasn't ready to give up. In his previous life, he had been a top-tier game designer. His head was packed with game systems, player psychology, event design, progression loops, and monetization tricks. He knew how players thought. He knew what kept them hooked. So maybe being a dungeon lord wasn't a dead end after all. Under the school's supervision, the awakened graduates began entering the teleportation array one by one. Chen Yu. Just as he was about to step forward, someone called out to him. He turned and saw a girl in a tracksuit hurrying over from the warlord's side, ponytail swaying behind her. Li Seiya, his childhood neighbor. From the original owner's memories, the two hadn't been especially close over the years, but back when they were kids, he had once stood up for her when she was being bullied. Maybe she still remembered. She hesitated for a second, then asked, You didn't buy any dungeon agency rights, did you? Chen Yu stayed silent. She bit her lip, then spoke quickly. Then come to my territory. I'll send you the coordinates later. As long as the protection period is still active, hurry over. I'll protect you from now on. The moment she said that, people nearby turned to stare. Li Xia was one of the school's recognized beauties, and rumor had it she had awakened the Golden Holy Lion unit. A top-tier start. A future powerhouse. For someone like her to publicly offer protection to a dungeon lord. That was enough to make everyone pay attention. But Chen Yu shook his head. Thanks, he said, but I still want to try. Li Xia froze. Try? Try what? Build from scratch. Wasn't that just suicide with extra steps? She opened her mouth, clearly wanting to say more, but Chen Yu had already stepped into the portal. A cold, mechanical voice rang out in his mind. Heading to the Dark World, respected Dungeon Lord. You have a 7-day newbie protection period. During this time, neither you nor your territory will be attacked by dark creatures. Please develop your territory as soon as possible. What appeared before Chen Yu was a ruined castle and an empty territory. Outside it, a massive protective barrier surrounded the land. It would last for 7 days. After that, the dark creatures outside would come flooding in. A saber-toothed tiger lay just beyond the barrier, over 3 meters tall, staring at Chen Yu like he was dinner the moment the shield dropped. Still, dungeon lords had one advantage over warlords. They could keep extending the barrier with soul crystals. The problem was simple. Soul crystals only came from killing adventurers. That was why some desperate rookie dungeon lords made instant kill dungeons, just to wipe out the first wave of adventurers and survive a little longer. The result was obvious. Adventurers trusted new dungeons less and less. Which made Chen Yu's start even worse. He turned to inspect his territory. It was almost completely empty. There was only one thing inside. A dungeon gate. The moment Chen Yu focused on it, information appeared in his mind. Building Dungeon Tier 1. Content none. Maximum capacity 0/20. A completely blank dungeon. Everything had to be built from scratch. Chen Yu quickly started sorting through the dungeon lord knowledge in his head, only to realize the original owner had barely studied any of it. The guy had been so sure he'd awaken as a warlord that he had practically ignored the dungeon path entirely. But the more Chen Yu learned, the brighter his eyes became. Dungeon construction in this world was insanely primitive. Lords had to build everything through imagination. Most people could only recreate things they had already seen, and anything truly original cost huge amounts of effort. Because of that, dungeon lords guarded their ideas like treasure and never shared them. And the moment Chen Yu realized that, he nearly laughed. Because he had something this world didn't. A whole Earth's worth of game ideas. Undead legions, mythological boss fights, endless concepts, endless mechanics. And on top of that, he had been a veteran game designer. If these people were all building dungeons with closed-door thinking, then once he got serious, his content would crush them. That solved one problem. The second was harder. How was he supposed to balance the adventurers? No matter how good the dungeon was, adventurers still came here to survive. If they couldn't get enough benefits, they wouldn't care how fun it was. Chen Yu kept digging through the rules, trying to find the answer. Then he froze. A second later, he almost burst out laughing. He had misunderstood the system completely. Adventurers didn't earn resources by clearing the dungeon. They earned resources based on the dopamine they produced while playing it. In other words, even if death was guaranteed, as long as the dungeon was exciting enough, fun enough, thrilling enough, they could still get rewards. Chen Yu instantly understood why veteran dungeon lords kept lowering their difficulty later on. It wasn't because clearing the dungeon mattered most. It was because winning was the easiest way to give players satisfaction. But that wasn't the only way. And compared to the methods in this world, their thinking was way too shallow. A smile slowly spread across Chen Yu's face. He already had an idea. There wasn't enough time left for Chen Yu to build anything massive. If he wanted to finish before the beginner protection period ended, the dungeon had to be simple, small, and addictive enough to keep adventurers hooked. So after thinking it through, Chen Yu made his choice. A card game. No monsters, no maze, no death traps. Just one room, one table, and a game addictive enough to make people burn through all their daily attempts here. Happy landlords. Once he decided, Chen Yu got to work immediately. He poured his consciousness into the dungeon core and started building from scratch, a golden card room, flashy and high class, styled like a casino from a gambling movie. Then came the card table, then the chips. That was it. Even so, by the time he finished, an entire day had already passed. When Chen Yu finally came back to his senses, the sun was already setting. Too late to open the dungeon. Most adventurers had probably used up their attempts for the day, so Chen Yu decided to wait until morning. With nothing else to do, he exchanged some free beginner food, sat in front of the protective barrier, and ate while staring at the saber-toothed tiger still camping outside. The tiger glared back, drooling in rage. Chen Yu ate even more happily. After that, he checked the Lord chat room. It was full of rookies complaining about bad starts, weak units, and terrible luck, nothing useful. Then he noticed 2 unread mails. The first claimed to be from some sealed demon god asking for money. Chen Yu skipped it without hesitation. The second was from Lacia. She had tracked down his communication number and sent him a long message saying her territory wasn't far away. If he couldn't hold on, he could go to her and she would protect him. Chen Yu delighted it at first. Then, after a few seconds of thought, he restored it from the trash. Confidence was one thing. Having a backup plan was another. That night, Chen Yu returned to the castle, lay down on the cold stone bed, and fell asleep. The next morning, he stood in front of the dungeon entrance. Do you want to start the dungeon? Start. The dungeon gate lit up. A moment later, 3 adventurers appeared inside the room. 2 men, 1 woman. Only 3. The minimum number possible. Chen Yu narrowed his eyes, but quickly relaxed. This was exactly why he had chosen Happy Landlord instead of something like Mahjong. Then he stepped into the dungeon himself. Welcome to my dungeon. The 3 adventurers turned toward him. The girl, Bai Feifei, looked around curiously. You're the dungeon lord. That's right. Before Chen Yu could explain further, one of the male adventurers, Ruoshu, let out a long sigh. Please don't tell me this is another cheap escape room. New dungeon lords really only know one trick. The other man, Wu Jue, nodded. Seriously, at least add some horror elements or something. Bai Feifei rolled her eyes. Stop whining. New lords barely have time to build anything. The 3 of them were already discussing other dungeons before the game had even started, clearly treating this place as a throwaway run before heading somewhere better. Chen Yu didn't mind. He simply smiled and activated the tutorial. Before we begin, let me explain the rules. He paused, then added calmly. No monsters, no death scenes, no horror. That got their attention. Then Chen Yu took out a few happy coins and handed them over. These are your starting chips, free of charge. As long as you still have coins, you can keep playing. The moment you lose them all. He smiled. The game ends. The 3 adventurers stared at Chen Yu in disbelief. No death scenes, no horror. Bai Feifei looked genuinely confused. Then how are you supposed to make a living? Chen Yu just smiled and let them focus on the rules. At first, none of them took the game seriously. Ruoshu only cared about one thing, using up his happy coins as fast as possible so he could leave for God of Destruction's punishment. Wu Yue felt the same. Even after the tutorial, he still looked unimpressed. Then the game started. A minute later, Wu Yue, who had been saying he'd lose on purpose, called landlord the second he saw a good hand. A few minutes after that, he was already yelling at the table. Soon, all 3 of them were hooked. Coins changed hands, voices got louder, complaints turned into shouting, laughter, and trash talk. Before they knew it, half an hour had passed. And suddenly, nobody wanted to leave anymore. Wu Yue stared at his nearly empty stack of happy coins and looked at Chen Yu like he'd committed a crime. Lord, you're way too stingy. This isn't enough to play. Li Ruopu immediately backed him up. Chen Yu smiled. The free coins are gone. If you want more, you can exchange them. How much? 1 death count for 500 happy coins. Wu Yue's eyes lit up on the spot. He had already figured out this dungeon would give him a solid reward settlement. If 1 death count could buy him 500 more coins, then this was absolutely worth it. Then I'm spending. He paid without hesitation and threw himself right back into the game. 8 hours later, Bai Feifei jumped up in excitement, proudly showing off her mountain of winnings, while the other 2 looked half dead from losing. By then, the 3 of them had completely forgotten why they came in the first place. That was when Chen Yu dropped another line. The happy coins won't disappear after you leave. The 3 of them froze. Chen Yu explained that the dungeon had a save system. Their happy coins could be stored for future visits, though he'd charge a small storage fee over time. The effect was immediate. If the coins could be saved, then leaving wasn't the end of a run anymore. It just meant coming back later to keep playing. And once Chen Yu mentioned that these happy coins would also become the shared currency for future dungeons under his banner, the 3 adventurers got even more excited. A fun game was one thing. A whole future series of dungeons tied to the same currency. That was a different story. By the end of it, all 3 were ready to help him advertise. So Chen Yu gave them one last push. The Happy Chess and Cards dungeon was officially launching a referral event. Bring 1 new player, get 500 happy coins. Bring 2, get 1,000. Bring 5 at once, get 5,000. The 3 adventurers instantly lost their minds. Bai Feifei said she'd call her friends. Li Ruopu said he'd start dragging people over too. Wu Yue even offered to post about it on the forums. Watching the 3 of them leave full of energy, Chen Yu smiled. His first dungeon had finally opened. And now the bait was in the water. After Bai Feifei and the other 2 left, Chen Yu closed the dungeon early. He had already stretched the session out for 8 full hours just to make sure their first experience was perfect. By now, most adventurers had probably used up their daily attempts anyway. Still, the results were better than he expected. 15 soul crystals. After deducting the daily upkeep for the dungeon and the protective barrier, he still had enough to hold on for several more days. But Chen Yu wasn't aiming to just survive. The hardest step was already over. His first dungeon had worked. Now it was time to expand. He went back into the dungeon and made a few upgrades, more tables, clearer divisions between beginner, intermediate, and advanced areas, and a few decorative touches to make the room feel less bare. Then he waited for the next day. That night, while eating dinner under the stars, Chen Yu checked the Lord chat again. As expected, Zhao Haliang was showing off. He claimed he had made 38 soul crystals in a single day with his God of Destruction's punishment dungeon, and the chat was full of people praising him. Others mocked him for copying popular trends and writing someone else's hype. But one message caught Chen Yu's attention. It basically said that no matter how much a dungeon lord earned, they were still hiding behind a shell. If a powerful warlord army came knocking, they'd be finished. Chen Yu's eyes narrowed. That part was true. If he wanted to keep growing, then sooner or later, he'd need enough strength to protect what he built. Meanwhile, in the adventurer world, Bai Feifei was staring at her settlement rewards in shock. Instant noodles, cola, cream puffs, hamburgers. None of it looked familiar. For a second, she even wondered if Chen Yu was one of those weird dungeon lords with broken common sense. Then she picked up a cream puff and took a bite. The next second, her eyes widened. It was soft, sweet, creamy, and absurdly delicious. She devoured it in 2 bites, then immediately opened the cola beside it. 1 gulp later, she froze again. Refreshing, sweet, addictive. Bai Feifei looked down at the pile of food in front of her like she'd just discovered treasure. Forget the game. Even these rewards alone were enough to drag her back into that dungeon. She immediately ran to find her two best friends and started trying to sell them on Chen Yu's dungeon. At first, neither of them believed her. So Bai Feifei shoved chocolate straight into their mouths. A few seconds later, both girls changed sides instantly. Forget whether the dungeon was fun or not. They were going tomorrow. No question. Wu Yue's side wasn't much different. He had also received a pile of snacks and instant noodles, and after following the instructions to prepare one, the smell alone nearly knocked him over. He stared at the steaming bowl, swallowed hard, then made a decision. This had to go on the forums. He quickly snapped a photo with his system terminal and uploaded it. The response was immediate. What is that? Why does it look so good? Which dungeon dropped this? Wu Yue looked at the flood of replies and grinned. Without even realizing it, Chen Yu's dungeon had already started spreading. Wu Yue's forum post didn't explode overnight. He wasn't some famous guide maker or big-name adventurer, so the photo of instant noodles only pulled a few replies from people he already knew. But that didn't matter. What mattered was that Wu Yue had already spotted the opportunity. If Happy Chess and cards really blew up, then the first strategy guide for it would blow up with it. So he immediately wrote one. From card types to combos, rules, and personal tips, he dumped everything he knew into a massive guide and posted it on the forum. Then he attached his referral link at the bottom. If people entered the dungeon through that link, the referral reward would count toward him. Li Ruopu was doing the same thing in his own way. He didn't bother with guides. He just started dragging his old teammates over by force, swearing up and down that the dungeon was fun enough to burn an entire day's worth of attempts. By the time the next morning arrived, Chen Yu checked the dungeon gate and found 12 applications waiting. The original 3 had all returned. And they had brought people with them. Chen Yu approved every one of them. In the card room, the newcomers looked around with obvious doubt. To them, it was still just a flashy room with tables and weird decorations. Some even thought it looked like another cheap beginner dungeon. But Bai Feifei, Li Ruopu, and Wu Jue were already too busy waiting for one thing. Their referral rewards. The moment Chen Yu stepped inside, the 3 of them rushed over. Lord, I brought 2 people. I brought 4. I brought 3. Chen Yu smiled and handed out the promised happy coins. Then he returned Bai Feifei's saved coins as well, bringing her total to a ridiculous amount on the spot. The others looked confused. Bai Feifei and the other 2 just smiled and said nothing. They'd understand soon enough. Chen Yu gave the new adventurers their starting coins and opened the tutorial mode again. This time, with Bai Feifei's group helping explain the rules, things moved much faster. Not long after, the room split into 4 tables and the games officially began. And just a few minutes later, someone screamed. It came from Bai Feifei's table. One of her friends had clearly just realized what kind of dungeon this actually was. Wu Lanlin was on the verge of tears. How did I still lose with a rocket and 3 2s? Bai Feifei sat across from her with the smug expression of someone who had just robbed a child in broad daylight. With skill, she said proudly, you still need practice. Sitting on a fortune of 8,800 happy coins, Bai Feifei had become the terror of the card room. She called landlord without hesitation, doubled and tripled whenever she felt like it, and crushed people so hard her 2 best friends burned through their starting coins in no time. Naturally, they refused to leave. So they exchanged more attempts for more happy coins and jumped right back into the fight. By then, the entire Happy Chess and Cards dungeon had gone fully chaotic. People who ran out of attempts started dragging in new recruits just to claim referral rewards and keep playing. New adventurers arrived confused, got taught the rules, sat down for a few rounds. And then got hooked too. The card room stayed loud from morning to evening. Shouting, trash talk, complaints, laughter, people begging for rematches, people cursing after getting blown up by rockets. It was complete madness. And Chen Yu loved every second of it. By the time the dungeon closed that night, he had earned 76 soul crystals in a single day. Adding that to what he already had, Chen Yu now held 90 soul crystals. That was enough to start the next phase. He immediately opened the system and pulled up the Adventurer Squad function. If he wanted to expand his territory, scout the area, and prepare for the future, then he needed workers. The first requirement was building an Adventurer Tavern. Fortunately, a level 1 tavern didn't cost any soul crystals. Once it was built, Chen Yu gained access to 20 adventurer slots, temporary bodies that could be occupied by adventurers from another world and sent out to work for him. Of course, no one was going to do that for free. Exploration missions took up a full day, which meant the adventurers who joined wouldn't be able to spend that time farming dungeons for themselves. If Chen Yu wanted people to sign up, the reward had to be good enough. After thinking it through, he quickly posted a mission. Task: expand the map. Explore the forest north of the castle. Search the area, scout nearby threats, and recruit any other races willing to join the territory. Reward: 300 happy coins for all participants. Extra reward: 100 contribution points for the top 5 performers. Chen Yu even added a note explaining that contribution points would have future uses inside his territory. Then he looked at the mission board and smiled. The card room had already brought him his first wave of players. Now it was time to use them. Before turning in for the night, Chen Yu finally gave his territory a name. Great Xia Sleepless City. Then he checked the rest of the territory panel. At the moment he had 1 castle, 1 adventure tavern, and 1 dungeon, happy chess and cards. The beginner protection barrier still had less than 4 days left, and the dungeon itself could only hold 20 players at a time. That was the problem. A dungeon was basically a server. Once it filled up, nobody else could get in. If happy chess and cards kept growing at this speed, 1 room wouldn't be enough for long. And building a second dungeon would cost 100 soul crystals. Chen Yu did a quick estimate and smiled. At this rate, he'd have enough by tomorrow. Meanwhile, in the adventurer world, Bai Feifei was staring at her settlement rewards again. Rice snacks, a spicy hot pot set. Her 2 best friends rushed over carrying their own piles of food, looking like they'd just robbed a festival stall. And for once, none of them were joking. Because this wasn't just good loot. This was life-changing. In the adventure world, surviving 1 day at a time wasn't the only problem. People also had to think about the future, about their parents, about old age, about what happened when they could no longer rely on the system and had to live off whatever savings they'd scraped together. That was why adventurers chased profitable dungeons so desperately. And that was why Wu Lanlin nearly cried while holding her rewards. This was enough food to feed her family for days. Enough to ease pressure at home. Enough to make tomorrow feel less scary. The 3 girls looked at each other and came to the same conclusion. If Lord Chen's dungeon could keep producing rewards like this, then they needed to help him grow. So that night, the 3 of them cleaned up, dressed properly, and did something none of them had bothered with before. They opened a live stream. After checking the name of Chen Yu's territory, Bai Feifei created a new account on the Adventurer Forum. Does Xia Fan Group. Then the 3 girls started promoting Great Xia Sleepless City. They danced, chatted, streamed, and casually talked up the dungeon. The audience that wandered in mostly came to watch pretty girls, not to listen to dungeon recommendations, but that was fine. Even if only a few viewers converted into players, it was still free traffic. And once Bai Feifei noticed the new mission Chen Yu had posted, she immediately pushed that too. Tomorrow, Great Xia Sleepless City would be running an exploration task. Anyone interested could come join them. Wu Yue was doing his own promotion at the same time. This time he stopped acting like a hype machine and wrote a proper review of happy chess and cards instead. Objective tone: rule breakdown, gameplay impressions, and a full recommendation post. One of the adventurers who had gone with him today had decent credibility on the forum, so once that guy backed him up in the comments, the post started looking much more believable. Soon, replies started rolling in. Some people were curious. Some called it fake. Some didn't believe a beginner dungeon could hand out enough food to last for days. And some openly declared that they'd show up tomorrow just to expose the whole thing as a scam. Wu Yue looked at the comments and grinned. Whether they came to praise it or mock it didn't matter. As long as they came, Chen Yu's dungeon had already won. By the next day, the people around Chen Yu had all started moving. Wu Yue kept pushing his strategy guide. Li Ruopu switched to streaming food reviews with Chen Yu's dungeon rewards. Bai Feifei and her two friends kept promoting Great Xia Sleepless City through their livestream. And little by little, it started working. More people were clicking links, more people were asking about happy chess and cards, more people were showing interest in the new Expand Map mission. The mission reward itself wasn't enough to make people go crazy, just 300 happy coins plus contribution points, but once Wu Yue dug into what those contribution points actually did, the mood changed immediately. They were tied to a system called Starry Sky. Raise your Starry Sky level, and you'd unlock daily rewards, weekly rewards, lower storage fees for happy coins, better treatment in future dungeons, and eventually even interest on saved coins. There were also cosmetic flex rewards like gold names and server-wide notifications. Right now, the benefits were still small. But everyone could tell one thing. If Chen Yu really kept expanding, then getting in early would be insanely valuable. So the mission instantly became worth doing. By the time Chen Yu checked the reservation list for the next day, Happy Chess and Cards was already fully booked. And because most of that traffic had come from Bai Feifei, Wu Yue, and Li Ruopu, Chen Yu quietly gave the three of them a VIP privilege. No matter how full the queue got, they could skip the line and enter directly. The three were thrilled. Then the next morning arrived. Chen Yu activated the Adventurer Tavern and summoned the 20 adventurers who had signed up for the mission. One by one, their adventure spirits lit up, and soon Bai Feifei, Wu Yue, Li Ruopu, and the others stepped into the dark world for the first time, standing in front of Chen Yu's ruined castle. Bai Feifei stared at it and blurted out the obvious. Lord Chen, your castle looks kind of terrible. Chen Yu didn't even deny it. No choice, I'm poor, so whether this place gets better depends on how well all of you perform today. That immediately got a laugh out of the group. Before sending them out, Chen Yu sweetened the deal one more time. Everyone who joined today's mission would have their daily attempts converted into happy coins at double rate. That one sentence alone made the adventurers light up. After all, to them, happy coins were no longer just game currency. They were food, rewards, future savings, and maybe even a long-term investment in Chen Yu's growing dungeon empire. And from Chen Yu's side, the result was even better. Before the dungeon had even opened for the day, he had already earned 100 soul crystals from the adventurers exchanging their attempts. More than yesterday. After a quick briefing, the 20-person adventure squad finally set off toward the northern forest. The dark world was dangerous, but this was still a newbie zone. The monsters here weren't especially strong, and with 20 adventurers moving together, a simple scouting mission shouldn't be too hard. Chen Yu watched them leave, eyes fixed on the forest ahead. If everything went smoothly, Great Xia Sleepless City would finally take its first real step toward expansion. After sending the adventurer squad into the northern forest, Chen Yu turned around and went straight back to work. The reservation count for Happy Chess and Cards had already gone past 20, but the problem was obvious. His dungeon could only hold 20 players at a time. That meant one thing. It was time to open a second server. Now, building a brand new dungeon from scratch would normally take forever, but Chen Yu wasn't creating something new this time. He was just copying Happy Chess and Cards. And since the template already existed, the duplication was basically instant. With 100 soul crystals in hand, Chen Yu built a second dungeon, copied the entire setup over, and renamed them. Happy chess and cards, line 1. Happy chess and cards, line 2. Then he linked the two together and expanded the room layout, effectively doubling the player capacity in one shot. After that, he immediately opened both lines and let the waiting adventurers flood in. While the dungeon on Chen Yu's side was packed with noise, tutorials, and new players learning the rules, the adventure squad in the forest had already run into their first fight. 7 forest giant wolves. The beasts were stronger than normal animals, but for Bai Feifei, Wu Yue, Li Ruopu, and the rest, people who spent their lives diving into combat dungeons, they weren't much of a threat. They grabbed whatever weapons they had and rushed the wolves head-on. After a short and messy fight, 4 wolves were killed on the spot, while the remaining 3 fled into the woods. When the team searched the corpses, they actually found a level 1 magic crystal. That immediately got everyone's attention. Magic crystals were useful for upgrading adventurer spirits, which meant they were valuable to Chen Yu, even if the adventurers themselves couldn't use them directly. So the group quickly decided to bring it back later as a bonus reward for their lord. But before they could celebrate for long, arrows suddenly shot out from the bushes. One adventurer dropped on the spot. The whole group snapped into combat mode immediately and charged straight toward the ambush without hesitation. The attackers clearly hadn't expected that level of aggression. Several small green figures jumped out of the bushes and turned to run. Goblins! The moment Bai Feifei recognized them, her expression changed. Goblins were infamous for raiding and kidnapping weaker races, especially female non-human tribes. Nobody in the group had any intention of letting them go. So they chased. Several goblins were cut down almost immediately, but one of them managed to escape deeper into the forest. Rather than stop, the adventurers followed it on purpose. If it led them back to a goblin nest, that would be even better. But what they found wasn't a nest. It was a goblin troop. More than 30 goblins had gathered in one place, and at the center of them stood a much larger one, a goblin leader. And judging from the chaos ahead, the entire troop was in the middle of attacking a village.
The adventure squad spotted a goblin camp attacking a nearby village. "There are a lot of them," one adventurer muttered. Wu Yue cracked his knuckles. "So what, we've cleared worse." Seeing the villagers already fighting on the front line, he grinned. "Perfect, we hit them from behind." Before anyone could stop him, Wu Yue charged. The rest of the squad rushed in after him. The ambush instantly threw the goblins into chaos. Compared to orcs, these goblins were weak, fragile, and mostly just common-grade mobs. Against 20 experienced adventurers, they stood no chance. The goblins were quickly wiped out, leaving only the goblin leader. It was stronger than the rest, but it still fell under the adventurers' shameless teamwork as they surrounded it and beat it down from every direction. With the goblin leader dead, the remaining goblins scattered and the village was saved. 2 armed villagers cautiously approached to thank them. They looked human, but their long, pointed ears gave them away. "Elves?" Wu Yue asked. Bai Feifei shook her head. "No, true elves wouldn't be bullied by goblins. These are probably half-elves." The villagers tried speaking, but nobody understood them. Bai Feifei then took out a recruitment order. The moment the half-elves saw the system item, they seemed to understand and quickly led the adventurers into the village. Soon the village elder gathered everyone together and lined them up for selection. The meaning was obvious. The village was willing to hand over some of its people in exchange for survival. The only warriors were excluded, leaving behind only the old, the weak, children and girls. Li Ruopu rubbed his chin. Lord Chen specifically said he wanted pretty girls. That narrowed the choice immediately. The squad picked 2 petite half-elf girls from the crowd. Both looked skinny and underfed, but their delicate features made it obvious they would be beautiful once properly cared for. Bai Feifei gently approached and showed them the recruitment order. The girls were frightened at first, but after the village elder persuaded them, they finally accepted. At that moment, a notification appeared before Chen Yu. "Congratulations, you have successfully recruited 2 villagers, half-elf times 2. Back at the castle, Chen Yu was delighted. Not only had the adventurers succeeded, they had brought back half-elves. Soon the squad returned with the 2 girls, dropped them off, and immediately headed back into the forest to continue exploring. Chen Yu finally met the first residents of Great Xia Sleepless City. The 2 girls stood nervously in front of him. "What are your names?" Chen Yu asked. "My name is Lena," one girl said softly. "She is Effie." Chen Yu nodded, pretty, young, and perfect for happy chess and cards. In other words, excellent future NPC material. But the first thing he noticed was how thin they were. They had clearly been starving for a long time. Without hesitation, Chen Yu exchanged for 2 lavish meals. The system warned him it would cost extra soul crystals, but he still paid. A huge spread of food appeared before the girls. "Eat," Chen Yu said. "As long as you work hard here, you'll never go hungry again." The girls froze, then tears filled their eyes. They dropped to their knees and thanked him over and over. From that moment onward, Lena and Effie officially became the first residents of Great Zia Sleepless City. And for Chen Yu, they were also the beginning of his next expansion plan. If Happy Chess and Cards wanted to keep growing, then the dungeon needed real staff. And Lena and Effie would become the first bunny girls of his empire. While eating, Lena and Effie hesitantly asked if they could bring some food back to their families. Chen Yu agreed immediately. Not only that, he redeemed even more food and had Li Riopu's group deliver it back to the half-elf village for them. To Chen Yu, this was an investment. The half-elf tribe lived close to his castle, so if he could win them over with food now, it would be much easier to absorb them into Great Zia's Sleepless City later. Lena and Effie were deeply moved. In the dark world, food and soul crystals were precious resources, yet Chen Yu was willing to spend both on 2 girls with no combat ability. That made them misunderstand his intentions a little. Lena had heard of lords who collected beautiful girls from other races for personal pleasure, so she quietly expressed that they were willing to do anything as long as they could stay here. But Chen Yu didn't react that way at all. Instead, he calmly explained their actual job. They would work inside Happy Chess and Cards as reception staff for adventurers. To Lena and Effie, this sounded unbelievable. The work was simple, the castle was safe, and they would be fed every day. Compared to their old life in the half-elf village, this place felt like heaven. The 2 girls even worried they weren't doing enough and asked Chen Yu to give them more work. Chen Yu could only tell them that if they wanted, they could stay open later at night. Then he brought them into the dungeon. The moment they entered Happy Chess and Cards, the outfits Chen Yu had prepared automatically appeared on them. The 2 half-elf girls were instantly dressed in elegant black bunny girl uniforms, matching the golden casino atmosphere of the card room. And the moment they appeared, the entire hall exploded. The adventurers immediately turned to stare. Half-elf girls. They're actually bunny girls. They're way too pretty. Chen Yu watched the scene with satisfaction. With Lena and Effie joining as bunny girl attendants, Happy Chess and Cards had officially taken another step toward becoming a real entertainment dungeon. Inside Happy Chess and Cards, nearly 30 adventurers were already packed into the room, and Lena and Effie's bunny girl appearance instantly became the center of attention. To stop anyone from acting out, Chen Yu gave the 2 girls overwhelming in-dungeon authority. Any troublemaker could be killed, kicked out, and stripped of all happy coins on the spot. The 2 half-elf girls adapted fast. Lena quickly learned how to handle tutorials, coin exchanges, and overall dungeon management, while Effie picked up the service side just as smoothly. Seeing how reliable they were, Chen Yu finally felt like he could stop babysitting every single visitor himself. Lena even suggested opening a small food and drink corner inside the dungeon so adventurers could spend happy coins while they played. Chen Yu immediately liked the idea. He added a small restaurant and dessert bar, selling snacks, drinks, and fancy-looking treats at high prices to start draining happy coins back into the system. After that, Chen Yu officially assigned their roles. Lena became the dungeon manager, overseeing the operation of Happy Chess and Cards, while Effie managed the food counter and helped wherever needed. With the 2 of them in place, the dungeon was finally able to run on its own. As more adventurers kept arriving through referrals, the player count soon pushed against the 40-person limit. Chen Yu decided not to wait any longer and spent the soul crystals to create Happy Chess and Cards, Line 3. The 3rd server was instantly replicated and merged into the existing setup, expanding the entire play area once again. The adventurers immediately noticed the change and were shocked. In only a few days, Chen Yu had already expanded his dungeon multiple times, something almost unheard of for a rookie lord. But the bigger reason they were excited was simple: the place was alive. 40 people could now play in the same dungeon, chat, gamble, argue, laugh, and drag in more friends. That was the real strength of Happy Chess and Cards. Unlike the usual single-player or tiny team dungeons, Chen Yu's dungeon felt crowded, social, and unpredictable. The more people joined, the more fun it became and the more addictive it felt. By the end of the day, many adventurers were already planning to bring in even more friends tomorrow, all for the referral rewards and another chance to keep playing. After 4 days, Happy Chess and Cards had officially started making noise. For a rookie dungeon lord, surviving was already hard enough, but Chen Yu was already pulling in absurd numbers and expanding far faster than normal. He checked the regional chat and saw Zhao Hailiang still showing off his purchased Hitaipi dungeon, boasting about his income and acting like no rookie could compete with him. But after doing the math, Chen Yu realized Zhao Hailiang's so-called success wasn't even close. Today alone, Chen Yu earned 325 soul crystals. That was more than enough to crush Zhao Hailiang's results and proved one thing clearly. Happy Chess and Cards was a gold mine. The reason was simple: other dungeons relied on turnover. Adventurers went in, cleared once, and left. But Chen Yu's dungeon trapped people for the entire day. They burned all their attempts there, spent extra for happy coins, and kept dragging in new players through referrals. Every adventurer who got hooked was basically worth multiple normal visitors. By evening, after deducting expenses, Chen Yu still had 170 soul crystals left, enough to start planning line 4 and push capacity even higher. When the dungeon finally emptied for the night, Chen Yu called Lena and Effie out of the game room. The two half-elf girls had still been standing on duty inside, so Chen Yu brought out another large meal for them and told them to eat properly. While they were eating, Chen Yu asked an important question. Were there more girls like them in the half-elf tribe? He was already thinking ahead. Happy Chess and Cards couldn't survive forever on just one card game. He planned to keep adding more board and card games from his old world, but to do that, he needed more staff, more NPCs to teach, guide, and run the place. Lena swallowed her food and explained that their own village was actually very small. Years of goblin harassment had worn it down, and most of their people had already migrated to a larger half-elf village over 10 kilometers away. The moment Chen Yu heard that, his interest rose. A bigger village meant more population. And more population meant more future staff for Great Zia Sleepless City. Lena told Chen Yu there was a larger half-elf village nearby, but the whole area was under a goblin kingdom. Goblins were weak individually, but their numbers were huge, which was why nearby intelligent races kept getting oppressed. Chen Yu immediately marked the goblin kingdom as his next target. Soon after, the adventure squad returned with a strong harvest, including a large bag of magic crystals. They had also located the goblin tribe, but stopped because it was already night. Since the mission results were better than expected, Chen Yu raised the rewards and checked the contribution rankings. Bai Feifei ranked first, followed by Wu Yue and Li Ruopu. He then posted the next quest for tomorrow: conquer the goblin tribe in a short 4-hour mission. After the adventurers left, Chen Yu reviewed his territory. With 4 Happy Chess and Cards lines already running, he decided that was enough for now. What he needed next was a new dungeon type. He had already realized a problem. If adventurers kept stacking more and more happy coins with nowhere else to spend them, the game would eventually lose its excitement. So he needed a second dungeon that would consume happy coins and become part of a larger dungeon economy. After thinking it through, Chen Yu chose his next project: Resident Evil. He picked it because it was combat-based, had a modern apocalypse setting that would feel fresh to adventurers, and was also relatively easy for him to build in the early stage. His plan was simple: use a zombie-filled underground research base as the beginner mode, then expand and refine it later. After choosing Resident Evil as the next dungeon, Chen Yu immediately started building its framework in the system. He recreated the hive base, train tracks, metal corridors, labs, the Red Queen, laser corridor, and liquor pods, planning to finish the rest over the next 2 days. Before sleeping, he also posted tomorrow's mission. Quest: capture the goblin tribe. Reward: 500 happy coins. Top 5 100 contribution points. Duration: 4 hours. Then Chen Yu used the magic crystals brought back by the adventurers to upgrade the adventure spirits in the tavern. All adventure spirits were upgraded from level 1 to level 2. One spirit was further boosted with the excellent grade magic crystal from the goblin leader. The result was a huge jump in combat power, making tomorrow's goblin mission much easier. After that, Chen Yu finally went to sleep. He noticed Lena and Effie had already cleaned his room, which made the ruined castle feel a little more livable. The next morning, Lena and Effie opened Happy Chess and Cards early, and the reservations had exploded to 108 people. All 80 available slots across the 4 lines were instantly filled. The remaining adventurers could only wait outside, but nobody wanted to leave. Once someone entered Happy Chess and Cards, they basically stayed for the entire day. Outside the dungeon, the people who failed to get in were already getting restless. Happy Chess and Cards had officially become overcrowded. Happy Chess and Cards completely exploded in popularity. The moment Chen Yu woke up, the dungeon was already packed. With 4 lines running at full capacity, the place had turned into a giant social gaming hall. New adventurers were shocked by the sight of 80 people in one dungeon at once, while veterans were already seated, farming happy coins and dragging newcomers into games. The atmosphere was chaotic in the best way possible. Some people came because of recommendations. Some came because other dungeons were boring. Some came just to watch the excitement. But once they stepped inside, most of them stayed. The result was obvious: soul crystals started pouring in non-stop. By the time Chen Yu checked his balance, he had already earned enough to immediately expand again. Without hesitation, he opened Happy Chess and Cards line 5, pushing total capacity even higher. The adventurers waiting outside instantly rushed in. Inside, Lena and Effie were overwhelmed but still keeping everything running smoothly. One handled coin exchanges and player management, while the other ran the bar and sold drinks, desserts, and expensive celebration packages to players who had just one big. The 2 half-elf girls were already becoming the true face of the dungeon. Chen Yu watched the scene and was extremely satisfied. The dungeon was finally operating on its own. But today's real focus wasn't the card hall. It was the Goblin Tribe conquest mission. Because the adventure spirits had been upgraded yesterday, Chen Yu had to spend 40 soul crystals to summon the 20-man squad again. This time, however, the summoned adventurers were much stronger. Their spirits had reached level 2, and Wu Yue's 4-star adventure spirit even unlocked a combat skill, letting him fire off shockwave attacks. The squad's morale instantly shot up. Bai Feifei quickly pulled everyone back on task, reminding them they only had 4 hours to finish the mission before being forcibly returned. Wu Yue stopped fooling around, Li Ruopu got serious, and the whole team immediately set off toward the Goblin Tribe. This time, the squad looked stronger than before. Several familiar faces were present, but there were also new recruits among the 20. Some had joined just to get access to Happy Chess and Cards, while others were simply curious after hearing how good Chen Yu's dungeon was. And among the newcomers, one person stood out immediately. At the very back of the group walked a young girl whose movements were calm, sharp, and clearly trained. Even Bai Feifei couldn't help glancing at her a few extra times. This mission might not be as simple as before. The adventure squad pushed deeper into the forest when a furious wrath bear suddenly attacked. Wu Yue rushed forward, but someone was even faster. A quiet girl stepped in and killed the bear with one clean slash, shocking everyone. Li Ruopu proudly introduced her. Li Ruoshu, his older sister and an elite member of the Black Rose Raiders group, one of Tidal Town's strongest strategy teams. The squad instantly trusted her leadership. Soon they reached the Goblin Tribe. The village was heavily defended with walls, watchtowers, and around 40-50 goblins, including 2 elite leaders. A direct assault would be too risky. After thinking for a moment, Li Ruoshu came up with a plan. The wrath bear they had just killed was the key. Since the goblins had attacked it earlier, they would drag its corpse to the tribe and use it as bait, luring the goblins outside instead of attacking the walls. The trap was set, the real battle was about to begin. Li Ruoshu's plan began with Wu Yue wearing the wrath bear skin to lure the goblins out. The trap worked. The goblins opened the gates and the adventurers ambushed them. Wu Yue stunned the enemies while Li Ruoshu led the charge. After a short battle, both goblin leaders were defeated and the tribe fell. Searching the camp, Bai Feifei found only empty slave pens. The real prisoners had already been moved further north, hinting at a much larger goblin force. The adventurers claimed the Guardian Stone, officially giving Chen Yu ownership of the territory. Without hesitation, Chen Yu activated it and renamed the settlement Resident Evil Base City. The new territory was poor, just 2 fertile farmlands and a broken warehouse, but it was the perfect location for his future Resident Evil dungeon. To populate it, Chen Yu immediately built a portal and sent Effie with the adventurers to recruit the entire nearby half-elf village into the new territory. His dungeon empire had officially begun expanding. After capturing the goblin tribe, Chen Yu rewarded the adventurers. The top performers were Li Ruoshu, Wu Yue, and Qi Maosong, while those escorting Effie earned a small bonus. Meanwhile, Lena called Chen Yu back to Happy Chess and Cards. A famous dungeon streamer named Wu Yang wanted to negotiate. He claimed he could bring thousands of players, but demanded special treatment in return. His fans should receive double happy coins. He should play for free. Chen Yu immediately refused. He explained that giving one group unfair advantages would destroy the dungeon's economy and be unfair to every other adventurer. Wu Yang insisted Chen Yu needed his promotion. Chen Yu didn't budge. He warned Wu Yang to either play normally or leave, and if he caused trouble, he'd be permanently banned. Humiliated, Wu Yang stormed off, already planning to attack Happy Chess and Cards online. Effie returned with magic crystals, hides, herbs, and materials from the goblin tribe. The biggest surprise, Lena and Effie promised to make Chen Yu a proper bed and blanket, ending his nights on a cold stone slab. Meanwhile, the remaining 12 half-elves officially moved into Resident Evil Base City, where they began farming and rebuilding the territory. Chen Yu's population grew to 14 half-elves, including Lena and Effie, 2 half-elf swordsmen, village elder, 9 villagers. After learning about a nearby rabbiteer village, Chen Yu upgraded the 2 half-elf swordsmen with magic crystals before sending them to investigate. Back at Happy Chess and Cards, demand exploded again. Even with 100-player capacity, people were still waiting outside. Chen Yu immediately spent another 100 soul crystals to open line 6. Now with 600,000 plus happy coins circulating, he knew it was time to launch his next dungeon. He returned to building Resident Evil, finishing the map and preparing its first enemies. Zombies with the liquor as the beginner boss. Happy Chess and Cards ended another successful day. After logging out, Li Ruopu checked his dungeon rewards, receiving strange foods like Luosiphon, Sprite, bread, and a self-heating hot pot. His sister Li Ruoshu arrived carrying a bucket of fried chicken. Curious but cautious, she forced Li Ruopu to taste it first to make sure it wasn't poisonous. After seeing him enjoy it, she finally tried it herself. The crispy fried chicken and burger instantly won her over. She quickly finished the entire meal while pretending to stay calm. Li Ruopu laughed, knowing Chen Yu's food had already captured her interest. Although she admitted the food was amazing, Li Ruoshu said a card game dungeon alone wasn't enough to keep her attention. As a combat specialist, she wanted to see a real battle dungeon. Li Ruopu believed Chen Yu's upcoming Resident Evil dungeon would eventually convince her to become his contract adventurer. Meanwhile, the angry streamer Wu Yang returned home and wrote a long post attacking Happy Chess and Cards. He called it a bubble dungeon, claiming happy coins had no real value and would eventually become worthless. According to him, Chen Yu was tricking adventurers into exchanging their lives for useless currency. Many of Wu Yang's followers believed his words. They began criticizing Chen Yu's dungeon and even targeted Bai Feifei, accusing her of misleading players just to gain popularity. Wu Yang smiled with satisfaction, believing he had started damaging Chen Yu's growing reputation. Wu Yang's forum exploded with accusations that happy coins were worthless, and his followers flooded Bai Feifei's livestream with insults. She and her friends had been promoting Happy Chess and Cards, but the sudden wave of abuse left Wu Lanlin in tears. Refusing to back down, Bai Feifei argued with the trolls and firmly defended Chen Yu. She declared that happy coins would soon gain new uses, just as Chen Yu had promised. In the heat of the moment, she even announced that anyone who doubted their value could sell their happy coins to her for real money. The moment the stream ended, she realized how serious her promise was. Not long after, adventurers gathered outside her home, demanding to exchange their happy coins. While Wu Lanlin wanted to apologize and Lin Xiaoxia wanted to argue, Bai Feifei made up her mind. She believed Chen Yu's plan would succeed, so she decided to buy every happy coin offered at a 10 happy coins to 1 cash ratio, even if it meant spending all her savings. Inspired by her determination, Wu Lanlin and Lin Xiaoxia also contributed their own savings. As transactions poured in, Lena noticed from the dungeon's logs that huge amounts of happy coins were all being transferred to Bai Feifei. Realizing something unusual was happening, she grew worried but didn't dare interrupt Chen Yu, who was fully focused on building the Resident Evil dungeon. Behind the scenes, Wu Yang secretly spread the news even further. His plan was simple: let Bai Feifei buy up all the happy coins, then expose the situation and ruin both her and Chen Yu's reputation. Within a short time, Bai Feifei had collected nearly 200,000 happy coins, around 30% of the total supply. But Wu Yang overlooked one crucial detail. The veteran adventurers who truly held the largest stockpile of happy coins never sold a single one. Instead, Wu Yue publicly announced that anyone wanting to sell their happy coins at the same rate could come to him because he was willing to buy even more. After the happy coin controversy settled, almost all remaining happy coins ended up in the hands of Chen Yu's supporters. Seeing the transaction logs, Chen Yu quickly understood what had happened. Rather than worrying, he turned the situation into an opportunity. He canceled the happy coin referral rewards and replaced them with a free entry to Resident Evil for every successful referral. He also enabled dungeon live streaming, allowing adventurers to broadcast their gameplay. His biggest decision, however, was making Resident Evil a nearly free dungeon. Instead of consuming an entry attempt, players only needed to spend 200 happy coins to enter. As long as they had enough happy coins, they could keep playing and earning rewards. Every feature inside the dungeon would also consume happy coins, creating the perfect sink for the growing currency. To other dungeon lords, both free entry and live streaming were considered terrible business decisions because they shortened a dungeon's lifespan. But Chen Yu didn't care. He wanted popularity first, believing he could always create even better dungeons later. After spending 100 soul crystals, he finally completed Resident Evil inside Resident Evil Base City, leaving himself with only 12 soul crystals. Early the next morning, Chen Yu activated the dungeon before going back to sleep. When adventurers logged into Great Zia Sleepless City, they were greeted by the brand new Resident Evil dungeon. Curious players rushed to enter, only to discover an unexpected requirement. Entry cost 200 happy coins. Those who had sold all their happy coins during yesterday's exchange were instantly locked out, filling the chat with complaints and regret. Meanwhile, a few players who had kept their happy coins paid the fee without hesitation. Moments later, the dungeon's player count changed from 020 to 120, marking the official beginning of Resident Evil. The first adventurer, Bai Xiaobai, entered Resident Evil and found himself aboard a strange train unlike anything he had ever seen. Before the mission began, a prompt asked if he wanted to enable a full live stream. Surprised that Chen Yu allowed players to broadcast the entire dungeon, Bai Xiaobai confidently accepted, convinced he could clear it in one run. Outside the dungeon, curious adventurers quickly joined the stream. Many mocked Chen Yu's decision, believing live streams would let strategy groups easily discover every secret and shorten the dungeon's lifespan. After completing a brief firearm tutorial, Bai Xiaobai arrived inside the hive, where the dark laboratories and eerie atmosphere immediately made viewers uneasy. While exploring, he spotted a motionless corpse suspended in a water tank, but dismissed it as nothing more than a horror gimmick. Moments later, he encountered a strange figure in a white lab coat. Before he could react, the creature suddenly turned around. Zombie! The monster charged at him, forcing Bai Xiaobai to fire several panicked shots. Although the bullets knocked it down, the zombie slowly crawled back to its feet, shocking both him and the viewers. Just then, someone from a strategy group typed a suggestion in the chat. Aim for the head. Bai Xiaobai immediately fired another shot, blowing the zombie's head apart and finally killing it. Seeing how slowly the zombie moved, many viewers laughed, convinced they had already figured out the dungeon. Compared to goblins, these monsters didn't seem dangerous at all. None of them realized that Resident Evil had only just begun. After all, the first zombie had gone down with a single headshot. But that confidence quickly vanished when everyone saw dozens of zombies respond to the gunfire and surround him. With no bullets left, Bai Xiaobai was torn apart and forced out of the dungeon. To his surprise, the rewards were generous. More importantly, he realized that Resident Evil only required 200 happy coins per entry. The moment he understood its value, he rushed to the chat and posted, "Buying happy coins at 1 to 5, unlimited quantity." The channel exploded. Soon, a second adventurer entered the dungeon. Having learned from Bai Xiaobai's experience, he immediately headshot the first zombie, but the gunfire once again attracted a horde. Although he escaped into another room, the flooded laboratory suddenly opened, releasing more zombies. His pistol ran dry and he was quickly killed. By now, the entire channel was hooked. Just then, a member of a strategy group spoke up. "I think I've figured out this section. Sponsor me 200 happy coins and I'll test it." Excited adventurers immediately pooled their remaining happy coins and sent him enough to enter. Once inside, the strategy group expert avoided using his gun. Instead, he quietly circled behind the first zombie and killed it with a knife. The viewers instantly understood. The pistol wasn't the solution, it was a trap. Gunshots attracted nearby zombies, while stealth allowed players to move safely through the facility. Carefully advancing, the expert entered the next room and immediately locked the door behind him. Confused viewers asked why he would block his own escape route. Only then did the strategy group member speak in a serious tone. Because there's something moving inside those cultivation pods. The chat instantly fell silent. The viewers finally realized that the dungeon was far more dangerous than it first appeared. The strategy group expert noticed something terrifying inside the laboratory's cultivation pods. Although the creatures were still frozen, he guessed they would awaken sooner or later, so he locked the door behind him before continuing. Meanwhile, happy chests and cards reopened, and adventurers rushed to exchange soul crystals for happy coins. Many immediately spent them to enter Resident Evil, filling the dungeon to capacity. With dozens of players live streaming at once, viewers watched one failure after another. Even the strategy group expert eventually fell to a terrifying zombie dog, proving that no one had come close to clearing the dungeon. Despite the constant deaths, players became even more addicted. The food rewards from each run were generous, making repeated entries highly profitable. Since Resident Evil required happy coins, demand for the currency skyrocketed overnight. Those who had sold their happy coins during yesterday's controversy were filled with regret, as the exchange rate surged from 10 happy coins per cash to nearly 1 happy coin per cash. Realizing he had misled everyone, angry adventurers flooded Wu Yang's forum with criticism, forcing him to hide offline. Furious, he blamed Chen Yu and decided to bring in even stronger strategy group members to crack the dungeon. On Chen Yu's side, the business was booming. Within just 2 hours, Resident Evil earned him 200 soul crystals. Seeing the endless queue of players, he immediately spent 100 soul crystals to open Resident Evil Server 2. The new server filled almost instantly as adventurers eagerly rushed in, determined to become the first to clear the dungeon. When Bai Feifei, Wu Lanlin, and Lin Xiaoxiao woke up and saw the market, they were stunned. The 200,000 happy coins they had bought cheaply the previous day had increased in value almost tenfold overnight. After buying 200,000 happy coins overnight, Bai Feifei, Wu Lanlin, and Lin Xiaoxiao had nearly spent all their savings. They had trusted Chen Yu, but risking their retirement money still left them anxious. The next morning, however, the value of happy coins had increased nearly tenfold, instantly turning them into wealthy women. Many buyers immediately offered to purchase their coins at a 1-1 exchange rate, but Bai Feifei refused. She believed that as Chen Yu released more dungeons, happy coins would become even more valuable. She explained that as long as Chen Yu carefully controlled the supply while continuing to expand the happy coin ecosystem, the currency's value would keep rising. The three decided to hold on to their coins and continue supporting Chen Yu instead of cashing out. Bai Feifei then revealed she had reached Starry Sky Rank 1, allowing her to claim an exclusive Resident Evil reward pack unavailable to ordinary players. Using her VIP privileges, she skipped the long queue and entered the dungeon immediately. Her livestream attracted a huge audience, many noticing the unique Starry Sky Rank 1 title above her head. After completing the tutorial, Bai Feifei drew the exclusive reward from her gift pack, a golden desert eagle with higher damage and a larger magazine. With a single shot, she effortlessly blew apart the first zombie's head. Watching countless players struggle all morning, the audience was stunned. Everyone instantly became jealous of the exclusive weapon, realizing that earning Starry Sky Rank offered rewards far beyond simple titles. Although Bai Feifei started with an exclusive Golden Desert Eagle, she was still inexperienced. One gunshot attracted over 20 zombies. Using her powerful weapon and extra magazines, she cut down zombie after zombie, something no other player had managed. The viewers were stunned to discover that her reward pack even included spare magazines, proving that contribution rank rewards offered real advantages. Even so, when more zombies burst from a laboratory, Bai Feifei was overwhelmed and died before leaving the first area. The audience laughed, realizing that powerful equipment alone wasn't enough to clear Resident Evil. Moments later, everyone was shocked again. Bai Feifei skipped the queue and instantly re-entered the dungeon through her VIP priority access, leaving the waiting players speechless. Chen Yu had only granted this privilege to Bai Feifei, Wu Yue, and Li Ruopu as rewards for their early contributions, so no matter how much others complained, they couldn't do anything except keep waiting. The players then remembered something even more unbelievable. Since Bai Feifei owned 200,000 happy coins, she could keep entering Resident Evil almost endlessly, farming rewards while everyone else struggled just to get one chance. The envy throughout Tidal Town grew even stronger. Meanwhile, Li Ruoshu also came to experience the dungeon, only to discover there were 86 people ahead of her in the queue. Before she could react, her brother Li Ruopu used his own VIP privilege to jump straight to the front, leaving her even more speechless. Despite the wait, Li Ruoshu became even more determined to become a contract adventurer, knowing it would grant her unrestricted access to Chen Yu's dungeons. As she watched the livestreams while waiting, she suddenly spotted a familiar face. It was Wu Chengsu, the vice leader of the renowned Changsu strategy group. Knowing his reputation for solving difficult dungeons, Li Ruoshu narrowed her eyes. Had he already figured out Resident Evil's secret? Wu Chengsu, vice leader of the Changsu strategy group, quickly reached the zombie dog area. Having studied previous livestreams, he predicted every enemy's position and defeated the zombie dogs with calm precision, earning the admiration of countless viewers. Seeing this, Wu Yang immediately mocked everyone, claiming that once the strategy groups finished analyzing the dungeon, Resident Evil would be easily conquered, and happy coins would become worthless again. As more players copied Wu Chengsu's route, strategies for the early sections rapidly spread. Soon, adventurers consistently reached a mysterious laser corridor. Confidently stepping inside, Wu Chengsu was instantly sliced in half by a moving laser. Game over. The entire channel was stunned. As players experimented further, they discovered the laser corridor wasn't required to clear the main story. It was only necessary for an optional objective to disable the Red Queen, while the main mission simply required escaping the facility. Many praised Chen Yu's design, deciding to skip the dangerous side objective and focus on clearing the game first. But just as they obtained the facility blueprints, the sealed door behind them was smashed open. A horrifying creature burst into the room. It had exposed muscles, razor-sharp claws, no visible eyes, and an impossibly long tongue. Liquor. Far faster and deadlier than any zombie, it slaughtered the adventurers within seconds, proving that the real nightmare had only begun. Meanwhile, Li Ruoshu finally entered Resident Evil. She mastered the firearm tutorial almost instantly and reached the laser corridor faster than anyone before her. Instead of rushing ahead like the others, she suddenly stopped. She began carefully searching the nearby rooms. While other players rushed to escape, Li Ruoshu stopped to search nearby rooms. To everyone's surprise, she discovered a blueprint for the laser corridor, revealing the timing and pattern of every laser. Just then, over a dozen lickers charged toward her. Instead of retreating, Li Ruoshu lured them all into the laser corridor. Relying on the blueprint and her incredible reflexes, she dodged each laser with perfect timing while the beams sliced through the pursuing lickers one after another. As the final laser grid approached, Li Ruoshu narrowly slipped into the only safe spot, watching the last licker be cut into pieces just inches away from her. The audience erupted in excitement. Only then did many viewers realize her identity. She was Li Ruoshu, the ace of the Black Rose Raiders, renowned as one of Tidal Town's strongest adventurers. After surviving the laser corridor, she entered the control room and finally met the Red Queen, a holographic AI in the form of a young girl. The viewers were amazed by Chen Yu's creativity. From zombies and lickers to advanced technology, and the Red Queen Resident Evil felt unlike any dungeon they had ever seen. Many even predicted that zombie-themed dungeons would soon become the next big trend, with countless dungeon lords trying to imitate Chen Yu's ideas. After reaching the Red Queen, Li Ruoshu ignored the AI's warning that shutting it down would release the zombie virus. Smiling, she removed the core and cut the power to the entire hive. In return, she completed the hidden side quest and received a rare reward, the tactical backpack, a permanent piece of equipment containing useful supplies such as a flashlight and extra storage. The audience immediately realized why Chen Yu had hidden such a valuable item behind the deadly laser corridor. Even players who cleared the game normally would eventually return to challenge the side quest. Li Ruoshu's flawless performance quickly became legendary, while Wu Chengsu was left embarrassed after being completely overshadowed. Furious that Wu Yang had convinced him the dungeon was easy, he blocked Wu Yang outright. With the liquors gone and the tactical backpack lighting her way, Li Ruoshu escaped the hive and became the first player to perfectly clear Resident Evil's novice mode. She claimed the top spot on the Hall of Honor, earning the exclusive Crimson King title and skin, 1,000 happy coins every week, and a special server-wide entrance announcement. The generous settlement rewards amazed even Ruoshu. The food she earned from a single run exceeded dozens of ordinary dungeon clears, while the thrilling experience left her completely captivated. Rather than feeling satisfied, she immediately began thinking about how to clear the dungeon even faster. As news of her perfect clear spread, Resident Evil's popularity exploded again. Players began clearing the novice mode one after another, but none dared challenge the laser corridor and liquor side quest. For now, Ruoshu stood alone at the top of the Hall of Honor. After Ruoshu's perfect clear went viral, Resident Evil became the hottest dungeon in Tidal Town. Both servers were constantly full, with over 500 players waiting in line. Rather than opening another Resident Evil server, Chen Yu focused on expanding Happy Chess and Cards, filling all remaining dungeon slots with new game lines until the territory could host 200 players at once. Just then, the half-elf scouts returned with good news. The nearby Rabbiteer village, freed from the goblins, voluntarily surrendered and offered Chen Yu its guardian stone. He immediately spent 100 soul crystals to activate it, officially bringing the village under his protection. The village contained 35 Rabbiteer people. Chen Yu left the laborers behind to continue farming, while recruiting 15 Rabbiteer girls to work as bunny girls in Happy Chess and Cards. To distinguish them from the managers, Chen Yu promoted Lena and Effie into elegant office-style uniforms, leaving the new bunny girls to handle the gaming tables. With enough staff available, Chen Yu upgraded the casino by introducing new games, including Texas Hold'em, Mahjong, and several other card games, while keeping Happy Landlord as the core attraction. After completing the update, Chen Yu still had 363 soul crystals remaining. Instead of building more Resident Evil servers, he decided to save them for upgrading his territory, believing expanding the casino's capacity would generate even greater long-term profits. That evening, Chen Yu noticed something unexpected. Not only was Resident Evil packed as usual, but Happy Chess and Cards was also overflowing with players. Now that Happy Coins could be exchanged for real money, adventurers no longer treated the casino as just a game. In their eyes, it had become a place where they could strike it rich overnight. With Happy Coins now directly linked to real-world currency, Chen Yu's long-term plan was finally taking shape. Resident Evil attracted players, while Happy Chess and Cards became the true economic engine of his growing empire. After an exhausting day, Lena, Effie, and the newly recruited Rabbiteer bunny girls were completely worn out from serving the endless stream of adventurers. Noticing that the crowds had finally thinned, Chen Yu announced a 10-minute maintenance for Happy Chess and Cards. The dungeon would temporarily close for gameplay updates, while Line 10 would remain open solely for Happy Coin exchanges. The announcement immediately sparked complaints from adventurers. Many had waited hours just to enter and were reluctant to leave, but once the countdown ended, the dungeon shut down as scheduled. After everyone left, Lena, Effie, and the bunny girls gathered before Chen Yu. He thanked them for their hard work before beginning the overnight update. Chen Yu expanded the casino, introducing Texas Hold'em, Mahjong, and several smaller card games while redesigning the layout to accommodate hundreds of players. He also created a dedicated exchange area so adventurers could quickly trade for Happy Coins without waiting in the main casino. Since the bunny girls would now serve as dealers, Chen Yu personally spent the night teaching them the rules of every game. Despite their inexperience, they learned quickly, and after hours of training, he finally sent everyone back to the castle to rest. With the casino update complete, Chen Yu immediately turned his attention to Resident Evil, continuing work on its normal mode while integrating the newly acquired Rabbiteer village into Resident Evil Bay City as its second district. Before resuming construction, Chen Yu checked his territory panel. His castle now housed 2 half-elves and 15 Rabbiteer bunny girls, while all 10 dungeon slots had been filled with Happy Chess and Cards. Meanwhile, Resident Evil Bay City contained 2 Resident Evil servers, 20 Rabbiteer villagers, 10 half-elves, 2 half-elf swordsmen, farmland, warehouses, and portals, with 2 dungeon slots still available for future expansion. The novice protection period had less than 23 hours remaining, and with both his entertainment empire and territory expanding rapidly, Chen Yu's foundation was stronger than ever. Chen Yu checked his territory expenses and realized his daily maintenance had already reached 64 soul crystals. The growing cost reminded him that a dungeon lord's greatest challenge wasn't expansion, it was keeping enough soul crystals flowing. Countless dungeon lords had gone bankrupt after failing to support their territories and subjects. Meanwhile, the Resident Evil craze continued sweeping through Tidal Town. Ruoshu repeatedly challenged the dungeon, eventually reducing her perfect clear time to under 20 minutes, firmly establishing Black Rose as the town's most respected strategy group. Rival strategy groups soon announced they would attempt the record as well. At the same time, Wu Yang mysteriously disappeared from the public eye after an accident, effectively ending his dungeon streaming career. In contrast, Bai Feifei's popularity exploded. Her live streams attracted countless new viewers, while many girls applied to join the Great Xia fan group, though its strict recruitment standards kept membership limited. Wu Yue also gained fame after publishing Resident Evil strategy guides using Li Ruoshu's gameplay, while Li Ruopu quietly built a small but loyal audience through his food review live streams. The following morning, both Resident Evil servers filled within minutes. More than 500 adventurers were stuck in the queue, filling the chat with complaints and demands for Chen Yu to open additional servers or release new territory expansion quests. Instead of expanding Resident Evil immediately, Chen Yu's overnight update transformed Happy Chess and Cards. Adventurers discovered brand new games, including Texas Hold'em and Mahjong, with bunny girl dealers patiently teaching newcomers through beginner tutorials. At first, many assumed Texas Hold'em was purely luck-based, but after learning about bluffing, betting, and psychological mind games, they quickly became hooked. Now that Happy Coins carried real monetary value, every wager felt meaningful. Winning made players desperate to continue. Losing only made them want revenge. The casino became even more addictive than before, with many adventurers refusing to leave even after losing all their Happy Coins, forcing Lena to personally remove them so others waiting outside could finally enter. As Happy Chess and Cards grew more crowded than ever, Chen Yu's entertainment empire entered a new stage of explosive growth. Although many adventurers were furious after being forcibly logged out of Happy Chess and Cards, their anger quickly disappeared when the system rewarded them with large amounts of food. Because Happy Coins had become valuable, every victory and defeat now carried real weight, making the casino even more addictive. Many players found themselves unable to stop thinking about it after leaving. By noon, Chen Yu's booming business had already earned him 1,000 soul crystals. Seeing nearly 1,000 adventurers waiting to enter Resident Evil, Chen Yu spent 200 soul crystals to build 2 additional dungeon servers in the Rabbiteer village. The new servers immediately eased the overwhelming queues. Next, Chen Yu invested 500 soul crystals to upgrade Great Xia Sleepless City to Tier 2. The once dilapidated castle transformed into a proper fortress, unlocking higher building levels. However, the upgrade also increased the territory's reputation, attracting the attention of stronger races in the Dark World. With less than a day remaining before the novice protection barrier disappeared, Chen Yu knew peaceful development was about to end. Checking the Lord chat, he found warlords already discussing plans to invade nearby villages, seize resources, and attack weaker lords once the shield expired. Many even mocked dungeon lords, believing they would never survive without wealthy backers. Ignoring the ridicule, Chen Yu focused on his own strategy. His ultimate target remained the Goblin Kingdom, whose vast territory could support around 20 dungeons if conquered. To prepare for the coming battles, Chen Yu upgraded the Adventurer's Tavern for 200 soul crystals, increasing its summoning capacity to 40 adventure spirits, then used his remaining magic crystals to raise all newly summoned spirits to level 2. Finally, he issued a large-scale exploration quest for the adventurers. The mission required 40 participants to explore every unexplored area around the castle, with Happy Coins, contribution points, and bonus rewards for discovering magic crystals or conquering new territory. With the novice protection ending the next day, Chen Yu began making his final preparations for the first real war in the Dark World. As soon as Chen Yu released the new exploration quest, adventurers rushed to sign up. More than 70 applications arrived within minutes, all eager to earn Happy Coins and contribution points. Since only 40 adventurers could participate, Chen Yu selected his most active supporters, including Bai Feifei, Wu Yue, Li Ruopu, and Li Ruoshu. Recognizing Li Ruoshu's outstanding combat ability, he assigned her the highest quality adventurer spirit to lead the mission. With the expedition organized, Chen Yu returned to developing Resident Evil's normal mode, believing the new map would require another 2 days to complete. Business continued booming, and by nightfall Chen Yu had earned around 2,000 soul crystals. He immediately invested 1,000 soul crystals to upgrade the first 5 Happy Chess and Cards lines, increasing total capacity to 300 players. The next morning, the novice protection period officially ended. The system announced that monsters across the Dark World were no longer restricted to level 1, making exploration far more dangerous. Chen Yu summoned all 40 adventure spirits, briefly explained the mission, and sent them out to explore the surrounding wilderness. Unlike a warlord's army, adventurers fought independently, so Chen Yu simply trusted them to complete the objective. After leaving the territory, the adventurers naturally split into smaller teams. Li Ruoshu partnered with Li Ruopu. Wu Yue teamed up with Qi Maosong. Bai Feifei, Wu Lanlin, Lin Xiaoxiao, and 2 other girls formed another squad. The remaining adventurers divided into several additional groups to maximize exploration speed. Deep inside a forest, Li Ruoshu's team quickly encountered a level 3 Gale Wolf. Working together, Li Ruoshu wounded the monster while Li Ruopu crippled it with an arrow, allowing Li Ruoshu to finish it off with a single strike. Although they obtained another magic crystal, Li Ruopu complained it wasn't a higher quality monster. Li Ruoshu reminded him not to become careless simply because their opponents seemed weak. Her warning proved correct almost immediately. Sensing danger, she shoved Li Ruopu aside and leaped away just as a wind blade sliced through the spot where she had been standing. Realizing they had encountered a far stronger enemy than expected, Li Ruoshu tightened her grip on her weapon and turned toward the source of the deadly attack. While exploring the forest, Li Ruoshu and Li Ruopu encountered a level 3 elite hurricane wolf. After its surprise wind blade attack missed, the intelligent beast immediately retreated into the trees instead of fighting head-on. Although Li Ruopu wanted to chase it, Li Ruoshu stopped him. Their current strength was far too low, so they continued hunting weaker monsters to level up first. After defeating several level 2 beasts and collecting enough magic crystals, Li Ruoshu requested a level upgrade from Chen Yu. He approved it, raising her adventurer spirit to level 3 and increasing her combat strength. She planned to reach level 4 before challenging the Hurricane Wolf again. Meanwhile, Bai Feifei's 5-person team encountered a far greater danger. They were suddenly surrounded by dozens of goblins led by a level 5 rare-grade goblin elder. The elder cast powerful vine magic that trapped the girls inside a living cage. Their weapons were quickly stripped away, leaving them completely restrained. Although Wu Lanlin panicked, Bai Feifei reminded everyone that they were only controlling adventurer spirits and could always log out if necessary. However, instead of killing them, the goblins tied them up and began dragging them deeper into the wilderness. Watching the organized escort and the rare-grade goblin elder leading the group, Bai Feifei quickly realized these were not ordinary goblins. They were likely soldiers from the Goblin Kingdom. Rather than escaping immediately, she made a bold decision. If the goblins were taking them back to their homeland, they could finally discover the hidden location of the Goblin Kingdom, the very target Chen Yu had been searching for. Captured by the goblin troops, Bai Feifei realized they were being taken straight to the Goblin Kingdom. Instead of escaping, she decided to follow them, believing the intelligence would earn valuable happy coins and contribution points. Along the journey, she continuously placed retreat markers on the map, tracking the goblins' route while warning other adventurers to stay away. Qi Maosong later confirmed the troop was led by a powerful goblin mage, making it impossible for the current adventurers to defeat. He and Wu Yue agreed to continue leveling instead of attempting a rescue, hoping everyone could reach level 4 before challenging the Goblin Kingdom. Suddenly, every adventurer received an emergency mission. Resident Evil Base City, District 2, the Rabbiteer Village, was under attack. The news enraged everyone. If the barrier was forced into defense, the Resident Evil dungeon would temporarily shut down, preventing adventurers from playing. Without hesitation, 32 adventurers abandoned their exploration and teleported back to defend the territory. Only 2 groups stayed behind. Bai Feifei's team remained prisoners of the goblins, while Li Ruoshu refused to retreat. She had discovered an unusually powerful hurricane wolf and believed it could drop a rare attribute magic crystal, making the risk worthwhile. Before leaving, Li Ruopu reported his sister's decision to Chen Yu, who approved her independent mission. Qi Maosong then informed Chen Yu about Bai Feifei's discovery, explaining that her retreat markers were steadily revealing the route toward the hidden Goblin Kingdom. The reports pleased Chen Yu. If Li Ruoshu secured the rare crystal and Bai Feifei successfully mapped the Goblin Kingdom, both would greatly accelerate his future conquest plans. Before Qi Maosong departed for the battlefield, Chen Yu entrusted him with a powerful trump card. Using the monster handbook unlocked through the Resident Evil dungeon, Chi Maosong gained permission to transform into a licker whenever the battle reached a critical moment, giving the defenders a powerful hidden weapon against the attackers. Chen Yu's greatest hidden weapon was the Monster Compendium, a system that allowed dungeon lords to collect monster cards whenever adventurers defeated dungeon monsters. These cards could temporarily transform adventurer spirits into those monsters. Most of Chen Yu's collection consisted of ordinary zombies and zombie dogs, which were too weak to be useful. However, he possessed one extremely valuable card, the Licker. As an excellent grade monster, the Licker possessed overwhelming combat power, but after countless dungeon runs, only a single card had ever dropped. Chen Yu had intended to save it for the assault on the Goblin Kingdom. Instead, he was forced to use it to defend his own territory. Since Resident Evil's 3rd and 4th dungeon lines had shut down due to the attack, every minute meant lost profits and damaged reputation. To end the crisis quickly, Chen Yu entrusted the Licker card to Chi Maosong, believing he was the strongest available fighter after Ruoshu. Although reluctant to transform into such a terrifying monster, Chi Maosong accepted the responsibility and departed for the battlefield. Meanwhile, Chen Yu approved another upgrade request from Ruoshu, raising her adventure spirit to level 4. With her increased strength, she finally felt confident enough to challenge the elite Hurricane Wolf. Outside the dungeon, adventurers were confused after suddenly being disconnected from Resident Evil's new lines. News quickly spread that one of Chen Yu's territories was under attack. Veteran adventurers immediately understood the situation. Warlords rarely tried to destroy protected dungeon lords outright. Instead, they harassed their territories, forcing dungeon services to shut down until the dungeon lord agreed to pay soul crystals or surrender land. The attacker Sun Haoran had reached the same conclusion. After learning that the Rabbiteer village belonged to a dungeon lord protected by a barrier, he saw an easy opportunity. Rather than conquering the territory, he planned to surround it, disrupt Chen Yu's business, and pressure him into paying regular tribute. Confident in his rare-grade Dragon Egg warriors, Sun Haoran ordered a complete siege of the Rabbiteer village. His goal was simple: keep the pressure on until Chen Yu surrendered on his own. Inside the Rabbiteer village, the frightened Rabbiteer residents hid in their homes, while over 20 level 3 Dragon Egg warriors surrounded the protective barrier, continuously striking it with massive blades. Although the barrier kept them safe, the villagers anxiously waited for Chen Yu's reinforcements. Moments later, the teleportation array activated and over 30 adventurers, led by Wu Yue, arrived to defend the territory. After observing the enemy, the adventurers realized the Dragon Egg warriors possessed high attack, defense, and health, but suffered from poor agility due to their heavy armor and oversized bodies. They quickly devised a simple strategy: lure the enemies from the front, while others attack their exposed weak points from behind. Wu Yue charged first, drawing 2 Dragon Egg warriors into combat. As they focused on him, a spearman slipped behind them and landed a perfectly placed thrust, instantly killing 1 Dragon Egg warrior. The unexpected method shocked both allies and enemies alike, sending the surrounding adventurers scrambling away from the victorious spearman despite celebrating the one-hit kill. Enraged by the loss of one of their own, the Dragon Egg warriors regrouped into a powerful charging formation and rushed the defenders. Rather than meeting them head-on, the adventurers calmly retreated behind the protective barrier. The charging Dragon Egg warriors slammed into the shield one after another, unable to break through its absolute defense, leaving their devastating assault completely ineffective while the defenders prepared for their next move. The Dragon Egg warriors kept attacking the barrier, but the adventurers quickly realized they could stab through it with melee weapons. Unfortunately, the Dragon Egg warriors' dragon scales were too tough, and only Wu Yue's massive hammer could deal meaningful damage. Knowing their weak point was from behind, Wu Yue repeatedly baited them to turn around so others could strike. After suffering several losses, the Dragon Egg warrior commander adapted. Instead of retreating carelessly, the troops formed a tight defensive square, protecting every vulnerable spot. The adventurers immediately understood the enemy's strategy. The warlord only wanted to stall them. As long as the adventurers remained here, the siege paused. Once they left, the Dragon Egg warriors would resume attacking, disrupting Resident Evil's operation until Chen Yu was forced to negotiate. Chi Maosong calmly studied the battlefield and noticed a trail of fresh footprints leading away from the village. The enemy's castle should be that way. Rather than wasting time against the defensive formation, he proposed a better plan: attack the warlord's base instead. If their castle came under threat, the Dragon Egg warriors would be forced to withdraw. While Wu Yue and the others deliberately kept the enemy occupied by pretending to search for a breakthrough, Qi Maosong quietly slipped away and followed the tracks. After about 10 minutes, he discovered a hidden Tier 1 castle deep inside the forest. After scouting its defenses, he hurried back with good news. Their castle is only Tier 1. Those Dragon Egg warriors are probably almost their entire army. The adventurers immediately became excited. Instead of fighting the heavily armored troops head-on, they would strike directly at the enemy's home. One concern remained: if everyone left together, the four-legged Dragon Egg warriors would easily catch them. Ji Maosong smiled. Who said we'd be running on two legs? He reminded everyone of Chen Yu's monster compendium. Resident Evil has zombie dogs. Qi Maosong realized that zombie dog transformation cards were perfect for this mission. Although zombie dogs were weaker than lickers, their agility far surpassed the slow Dragon Egg warriors. He requested permission from Chen Yu to use the monster compendium. Since countless adventurers had farmed Resident Evil, Chen Yu had already collected dozens of zombie dog cards. Instead of limiting access, he simply unlocked the entire collection and let the adventurers use them freely. Confident they could handle the situation themselves, Chen Yu returned to developing Resident Evil's normal mode. A massive open-world city filled with zombies, mutated bosses, hidden weapons, armored vehicles, helicopters, and powerful monster cards waiting to be discovered. Meanwhile, Qi Maosong gathered the adventurers and led them out of the Rabbiteer village. The Dragon Egg warriors immediately prepared for battle, expecting another direct assault. Instead, the adventurers completely ignored them and sprinted toward the enemy's territory. Realizing their destination, the Dragon Egg commander panicked. Stop them, return to the castle. At Qi Maosong's command, over 30 adventurers activated the monster compendium. Dark mist enveloped their bodies as bones cracked and reshaped. Moments later, every adventurer had transformed into a terrifying zombie dog, their skinless bodies and split jaws horrifying even the Dragon Egg warriors. The monsters quickly recovered from the shock and began chasing them. But zombie dogs specialized in speed. Within moments, the transformed adventurers disappeared into the forest, leaving the Dragon Egg warriors far behind. The commander immediately realized the disaster. The zombie dogs weren't fleeing randomly, they knew the exact route to Dragon Castle. Leading every available Dragon Egg warrior, he desperately rushed back to protect his lord. Meanwhile, inside Dragon Castle, Sun Heoran remained completely unaware of the danger. Confident that his siege was going perfectly, he leisurely chatted in the Lord channel, proudly preparing to boast about discovering a dungeon lord who would soon become his personal source of soul crystals. Sun Heoran proudly revealed in the Lord channel that he had discovered a dungeon lord occupying a nearby territory. Believing the opponent depended on dungeon profits, he confidently planned to wear them down until they surrendered and paid soul crystals. Just as everyone congratulated him on finding a cash cow, Sun Heoran suddenly noticed dozens of blood-covered zombie dogs charging out of the forest. He immediately ordered the castle gates closed. However, several zombie dogs leapt onto the drawbridge before it could be raised. They slaughtered the guards and seized control of the gate, trapping the Dragon Egg warriors outside while the rest of the pack poured into the castle. As the remaining defenders fought back, they quickly discovered the true horror of the zombie dogs. Anyone bitten by them became infected. The first fallen Dragon Egg warrior suddenly stood back up as a zombie and attacked his former comrades, throwing the castle into complete chaos. Qi Maosong instantly realized how powerful the virus was. He and the other transformed adventurers deliberately targeted exposed areas, spreading the infection as quickly as possible. Although ordinary infected Dragon Egg warriors couldn't create endless zombies on their own, every zombie dog bite produced more infected soldiers, steadily turning Sun Heoran's own troops against him. Panicking, Sun Heoran recalled every Dragon Egg warrior outside the castle and poured all his remaining resources into the Dragon Egg nest, desperately hatching reinforcements at maximum speed. He only needed to hold out until his strongest commander, the Dragon Egg Overlord, returned. But when he looked down at the battlefield, his heart nearly stopped. Several fallen Dragon Egg warriors had already risen as zombies. Fearless, tireless, and completely loyal to the virus, they were now slaughtering their former allies from within, throwing Dragon Castle into total chaos. As the zombie dogs continued overrunning Dragon Castle, Sun Haoran found himself trapped. If he stopped producing dragon egg warriors, the zombie dogs would reach him first. If he continued training troops, he would burn through all his resources. With no other choice, he desperately kept hatching reinforcements while sending frantic surrender messages to the owner of the Rabbiteer village, offering compensation in exchange for ending the attack. Chi Maosong searched for a way to reach Sun Haoran, but found the castle walls too high for a zombie dog to climb. Meanwhile, the Dragon Egg Overlord returned with reinforcements and smashed open the drawbridge, allowing over 30 Dragon Egg warriors to storm back inside. Although the infected Dragon Egg warriors fought fearlessly, they were too weak to stop the organized charge. The Dragon Egg Overlord activated a morale-boosting skill, removing his soldiers' fear of zombies and steadily pushing them back. Watching the tide turn, Sun Haoran burst into laughter. He arrogantly declared that once this battle ended, he would repeatedly raid the Dungeon Lord's territory until he received soul crystals and other compensation. At that moment, Chi Maosong made his decision. He activated Chen Yu's only liquor transformation card. His zombie dog body rapidly expanded into a terrifying crimson monster, covered in exposed muscle and razor-sharp claws. The liquor instantly tore through multiple Dragon Egg warriors, while its far stronger virus infected every soldier it killed, creating even more undead inside the castle. Realizing this creature was the true threat, the Dragon Egg Overlord charged toward it. But the liquor never intended to fight head-on. Using its powerful claws, it leaped onto the castle wall and rapidly climbed upward, heading straight for Sun Haoran. The transformed liquor quickly climbed the castle walls and reached the watchtower. Realizing the monster was coming for him, Sun Haoran fled in panic, begging for mercy as he ran through the castle. The liquor easily smashed through every obstacle, caught him with a single claw, and infected him with the T-virus. Carrying the terrified lord outside, Chi Maosong confronted the Dragon Egg Overlord. Enraged, the Overlord challenged him to a duel. Chi Maosong accepted. Dodging the Overlord's heavy strike, the liquor counterattacked with lightning-fast claws and its deadly tongue, killing the commander in seconds. With their leader dead, the remaining Dragon Egg warriors quickly collapsed under the combined assault of the liquor and the zombie horde. After the battle, the adventurers eliminated every infected zombie before reverting to their normal forms. Inside the castle, they discovered the territory's guardian stone. Chen Yu received a system notification that his adventurers had conquered a new territory. Without hesitation, he accepted. The new land expanded his domain and could support another 10 dungeons, though he decided not to activate its protective barrier yet because of the high soul crystal cost. Instead, he built a teleportation gate, repaired the castle, and left it as an empty outpost that adventurers could reinforce whenever needed. Searching the warehouse, Chen Yu found little in terms of resources, but 2 valuable construction blueprints caught his attention. Blacksmith shop, forge and repair equipment for adventurers. Textile mill, produce clothing and magical garments from leather and fabrics. Pleased with the unexpected reward, Chen Yu immediately planned to put both buildings to use. Meanwhile, the adventurers resumed exploring nearby areas for more magic crystals before nightfall. By dusk, Chen Yu finally completed the normal mode of Resident Evil, an enormous city map filled with zombies, mutated monsters, hidden weapons, and countless secrets. Exhausted, he stepped onto the castle's watchtower to relax. Just then, he noticed a familiar figure approaching the territory. Dragging the enormous corpse of a white hurricane wolf behind her, Ruoshu had returned. Ruoshu returned to the territory after successfully solo-killing the level 3 elite hurricane wolf, defeating an enemy with several times her combat power. She presented Chen Yu with a fine-grade wind attribute magic crystal, a rare item that could grant wind abilities to a contract adventurer. Impressed, Chen Yu praised her and offered to make her a contract adventurer of Great Xia Sleepless City, explaining that only then could she fully use the wind attribute crystal. Ruoshu joked that he was the one benefiting from the deal. To persuade her, Chen Yu promised a Princess Pink room, free lodging, and even treated her to spicy strips after learning her favorite things from Ruopu. Although tempted, Ruoshu refused to join immediately. She said Resident Evil was good, but she wanted an even better dungeon before accepting his invitation. Instead, she requested a VIP pass so she would no longer have to wait hours in line just to play for a few minutes. She left the wind attribute crystal with Chen Yu before departing. After she left, Chen Yu decided not to immediately release the completed Resident Evil normal mode. Since the dungeon had only just recovered from the recent attack, another shutdown would damage its reputation. He chose to update the game after nightfall instead. To build excitement, Chen Yu also planned to create promotional CG trailers inspired by Resident Evil and Left 4 Dead, believing players only needed to be amazed, and would happily fill in any missing story details with their own imagination. Chen Yu spent the rest of the day creating promotional CGs. By nightfall, the adventurers returned with a huge haul of level 3 magic crystals. Using the crystals, Chen Yu upgraded all 40 adventure spirits to level 4 in common, raising their combat power index to 40. He also upgraded both half-elf swordsmen to the same level, but saved the rare wind attribute magic crystal for a future contract adventurer. After visiting the new blacksmith shop, Chen Yu forged basic iron swords and iron armor, then strengthened them with spare magic crystals. Limited resources allowed him to fully equip only the 2 half-elf swordsmen, boosting each to 61 combat power. Although he could buy more materials with soul crystals, Chen Yu decided expanding the territory was a better investment. He spent 1,800 soul crystals upgrading the remaining happy chests and Resident Evil dungeons to level 2, leaving only 200 soul crystals in reserve. That night after the player queue died down, Chen Yu announced server maintenance. He uploaded 2 promotional CGs and updated Resident Evil, adding a new menu with Novice Mode, Normal Mode, and future locked modes including Nightmare, Endless Roguelike, and Versus. While Chen Yu focused on the update, news spread through the Lord chat network that Sun Haoran had been killed. Other lords learned his territory had been destroyed by mysterious, intelligent canine monsters, actually Chen Yu's transformed adventurers, and some began discussing revenge. After learning of Sun Haoran's death, his older brother Sun Yeo posted the coordinates of the destroyed territory in the Lord chat and asked nearby lords to investigate who had killed him. Most lords mocked the situation, saying Sun Haoran had tried to rob a dungeon lord and paid the price. Some even joked it was a classic case of beat the small one and the big one comes. A nearby lord agreed to investigate, but only if there was something in it for him. Sun Yeo then revealed that his innate troop type was the Ice Wyvern, a true dragon-blooded high-level unit. The chat instantly fell silent as everyone realized he was an elite lord. The nearby lord immediately changed his attitude, added Sun Yeo as a friend, and promised to scout the area the next morning. Elsewhere, Sun Yeo watched his Ice Wyverns hunting in the sky and silently swore revenge on whoever had killed his brother. Meanwhile, Li Xia noticed that the coordinates mentioned in the chat were surprisingly close to Chen Yu's territory. She briefly wondered if the dungeon lord being discussed could be Chen Yu, but quickly dismissed the idea, believing he couldn't have developed that quickly on his own. Still unable to get a reply to any of the messages she had sent over the past few days, Li Xia assumed Chen Yu was simply struggling to survive. She decided that after conquering her current tribe, she would expand toward his territory and protect him if necessary. Before returning to battle, she sent Chen Yu another message, telling him not to worry because she would reach him soon. Seeing another delivered unread notification, she smiled bitterly, realizing she had become the one constantly waiting for his reply. That same night, Tidal Town was filled with complaints after Chen Yu shut down Resident Evil for maintenance. Adventurers who had planned to play were frustrated, saying they had waited all day only to be locked out. Many joked they were suffering withdrawal from not being able to enter the dungeon. Others focused on the maintenance announcement, eagerly waiting for the 2 promised promotional CGs. Although some people dismissed CGs as usually stiff and boring, many still hoped Chen Yu's new trailers would be worth watching while they waited for the dungeon to reopen. Even before the promotional CG was released, adventurers were already arguing about it. Most weren't optimistic. CGs are always boring. Hopefully this one isn't another disappointment. At that moment, the first Resident Evil promotional CG appeared on the dungeon interface. Everyone clicked in immediately. The screen opened to a ruined city at night. Cracked streets, abandoned vehicles, and towering concrete buildings created an eerie atmosphere unlike anything the adventurers had ever seen. A squad of armed soldiers cautiously advanced through the silent streets, flashlights sweeping the darkness. The tense silence alone captivated everyone. What kind of city is this? So this is the outside world beyond the laboratory. Suddenly, a corpse trapped between 2 cars came alive and lunged. Holy crap! That scared me. Before they could recover, the battle escalated. Gunfire echoed through the streets as another squad joined the fight. Then came an even bigger shock. A crimson liquor crawled across the ceiling before pouncing without warning. The comments exploded. It's a liquor. That thing is even stronger than the rookie mode version. The CG continued introducing even more terrifying monsters, powerful enemies, RPG launchers, armored vehicles, heavy machine guns, and massive zombie hordes. Every scene became more exciting than the last. I want that RPG. If normal mode is really like this, I'm playing it all night. Looks like multiplayer is coming. Those who still hadn't cleared rookie mode could only watch in frustration. Soon, players began sharing the CG across the Tidal Town forums. One post quickly became the hottest topic. Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City first promotional CG released. Replies flooded in. The opening atmosphere gave me goosebumps. That liquor ceiling attack nearly made me scream. The squad fighting back-to-back against endless zombies looked incredible. That giant gas mask monster has to be the new boss. The helicopter crash scene was insane. More and more adventurers joined the discussion, praising Chen Yu's imagination. Many were already imagining themselves fighting through the ruined city with heavy weapons. Yet just as everyone thought this CG was already unbelievable, Chen Yu released the second promotional CG, Left 4 Dead, and it completely shattered their expectations once again. The second promotional CG, Left 4 Dead, sent adventurers flooding to the forums. Compared to the elite tactical squad from the first trailer, everyone jokingly admitted they were just ordinary survivors who would be running for their lives. Many predicted they'd have to grind countless save files and better equipment before standing a chance against the terrifying new monsters. The two trailers pushed Resident Evil to the top of Tidal Town's forum, completely overshadowing God of Destruction's punishment. Players even hoped Chen Yu would conquer more territory so he could build additional Resident Evil instances and shorten the ever-growing queues. Even Zhao Hailiang noticed fewer players visiting his own dungeon, while Li Ruoshu became even more eager to challenge the new mode. Everything unfolded exactly as Chen Yu had planned. The first CG showed players what they could become after enough progression, while the second reminded them that surviving came first. Together, they motivated adventurers to keep grinding for stronger equipment and save files. The next morning, long before sunrise, countless adventurers gathered outside the Resident Evil entrance. Although the dungeon could now hold 160 players, every slot filled instantly, while everyone else watched live streams of the first run. The opening interface stunned everyone, revealing a ruined city consumed by the zombie outbreak. Players also discovered several future modes, including Nightmare, along with 2 ways to play, solo or team, earning widespread praise. The first 5-player team quickly entered the dungeon and spawned inside a hospital ward. Apart from a single knife, they had no weapons. The mission was simple: search the city for equipment and escape Raccoon City before dawn. Confident they could survive by playing cautiously, the team opened the first door. A zombie immediately lunged at them. One player was bitten before the others hacked the zombie down and rescued him. At first, everyone thought the danger had passed until the bitten player's mutation level began rapidly increasing. When it reached 100%, he transformed into a zombie and attacked his teammates. The infection spread from one adventurer to another. Within moments, the entire 5-man squad had turned on each other, and the very first team was wiped out before clearing even a single room. The first team's failure taught everyone an important lesson. Once a teammate was infected, they had to be eliminated immediately. Players also discovered a unique mechanic. Infected adventurers didn't leave the game but continued playing from the zombies' perspective. The next team approached far more carefully. Before opening the hospital door, they barricaded it with a table, trapping the zombies outside and cutting them down safely through the narrow opening. After clearing the corridor, they searched the hospital room by room for supplies. One adventurer was ambushed by a nurse zombie, but another quickly rescued him with a pistol found at the nurse's station. 4 more handguns were waiting there, confirming Chen Yu had placed starter weapons for players who explored carefully. However, the rescued player had already been bitten. Without hesitation, the experienced adventurer shot his infected teammate, explaining that anyone carrying the virus would eventually turn into a zombie. Watching from outside, everyone realized how terrifying the infection mechanic truly was. As more than 20 teams pushed through the hospital, an even bigger surprise awaited them. Several teams suddenly met each other outside. Everyone had assumed each 5-man squad entered its own separate instance, but they quickly realized every team was actually exploring the same Raccoon City, simply spawning at different locations. The revelation stunned both the players and everyone watching the live streams. What they didn't know was that Chen Yu had built an enormous city capable of holding 10,000 adventurers at once. Once that limit was reached, an entirely new Raccoon City would open. Time inside matched the real world, and at dawn a nuclear bomb would destroy the city, forcing players to escape before then. Clearing the dungeon was intentionally brutal. The rooftop helicopter only had room for a handful of survivors, meaning only a few players out of thousands could successfully escape. To make things even harsher, every adventurer team was marked hostile to one another. Killing rival players rewarded soul stone energy, which could be exchanged for permanent starting equipment, encouraging both cooperation and betrayal. Just as the tense standoff between teams began, a massive zombie appeared at the hospital entrance. Its muscular body dwarfed every ordinary zombie, and with a single swing it hurled a broken statue across the entrance. The livestream chat exploded. This was the tank. Unlike the agile licker, the tank was pure overwhelming strength. Looking at the giant monster, every team immediately realized the pistols they had just found would barely scratch it. After a quick discussion, most adventurer teams retreated into the hospital to search for better equipment instead of challenging the tank. Only one team tried sneaking out from the side. The tank spotted them instantly. It charged forward like a cannonball, crashing through the hospital wall and wiping out the entire team in a single attack. Their sacrifice unintentionally distracted the tank long enough for the remaining teams to escape from the opposite side. Relieved, the survivors continued through the city, until a long tongue suddenly shot down from a rooftop and dragged one of their female teammates into an alley. It wasn't a licker. It was a new infected called the Smoker. The creature restrained its victim with its tongue and began attacking her. The team quickly opened fire, forcing the Smoker to retreat. Determined to save their teammate, the remaining 4 members chased after it, while the other teams split up to continue exploring on their own. Elsewhere, another squad entered an abandoned underground mall after hearing a woman crying. Believing they had found a survivor NPC, they carefully followed the sound through the dark corridors. Inside an empty shop, they discovered a lone woman sobbing. The moment their flashlight landed on her, a warning appeared. "You have disturbed the witch." The crying woman instantly transformed into a terrifying monster, moving with unbelievable speed. She killed one adventurer in a single swipe before tearing through the rest of the team within seconds. The players watching the livestream were left speechless by the witch's overwhelming speed. By now, everyone had already encountered terrifying new special infected like the tank, Smoker, and witch, leaving the community amazed by Chen Yu's endless monster designs. Then someone in the livestream chat urged everyone to switch to Stream 13. According to viewers, an even more terrifying boss had appeared. Unlike the other monsters, this one carried an RPG launcher, a Gatling gun, and actively hunted adventurers across the city. Once it detected a target, it would pursue them relentlessly. This was the Nemesis, the strongest boss in Resident Evil's normal mode. Excited players rushed into Stream 13, hoping to witness the battle. Instead, they were greeted with a single message. The broadcast had already ended. The streamer had been killed before anyone else could even see the fight. The Nemesis quickly became every viewer's obsession. Whenever someone reported its location, thousands of adventurers immediately switched to that livestream, only to watch the streamer die within seconds. Some were blown apart by an RPG before they could react, while others were cut down by its relentless Gatling gun. Everywhere the Nemesis appeared, the result was the same. Game over. Players couldn't believe a zombie was carrying heavier weapons than they were. With nothing but pistols, ordinary adventurers had no chance against a monster that actively hunted them across the city. What they didn't know was that this was only the Nemesis's first form. Even stronger transformations awaited, and defeating it would require powerful weapons hidden throughout the map. Because its monster card was incredibly valuable, Chen Yu intentionally made its drop rate extremely low. Soon, viewers rushed to channel 233, where someone was actually surviving against the Nemesis. The player was Chi Maosong, one of the strongest independent adventurers and second only to Ruoshu on the rookie mode Perfect Clear leaderboard. Running across rooftops with incredible agility, Chi Maosong turned the chase into a breathtaking parkour sequence while the Nemesis fired rockets from below. When he reached a dead end, the monster switched to its Gatling gun, leaving him with nowhere to escape. At the last second, Chi Maosong fired a grappling hook from his tactical backpack, swinging safely to the opposite building as thousands of bullets tore through the air behind him. The livestream chat exploded with praise. Everyone finally understood the meaning behind Chen Yu's 2 promotional CGs. Elite players like Chi Maosong resembled the tactical squad, while ordinary adventurers were simply struggling to survive like the civilians in Left 4 Dead. As the excitement grew, viewers began wondering why none of the famous strategy groups had entered the dungeon yet. Many joked they were afraid of embarrassing themselves in front of the livestream audience. Then a message spread across every Resident Evil channel. The Black Rose Raiders group had entered the queue. Tidal Town's strongest female team was about to challenge Raccoon City, and everyone realized the real competition was finally about to begin. The Black Rose Raiders group's arrival instantly ignited the Resident Evil forums. Players teased the strategy groups that had stayed silent, urging every top team in Tidal Town to join the large world dungeon. Since Raccoon City placed all teams in the same hostile world, many believed it was the perfect stage to determine the town's strongest strategy group. The excitement spread so quickly that adventurers began tagging the Adventurers Guild and every major strategy group, hoping to see a full-scale professional showdown. Some even declared that the first team to escape Raccoon City deserved the title of Tidal Town's #1 strategy group. The growing hype eventually reached Lee Yunk, president of the Tidal Town Adventurers Guild. Lately, he had been under tremendous pressure. After Tidal Town failed to earn the title of an excellent town, it was assigned to a region filled with rookie dungeon lords. Without a successful local dungeon, the town's economy would inevitably decline, and as guild president, he would shoulder the blame. To prevent that, Lee Yunk had spent his efforts promoting well-known dungeon lords with licensed IPs. That was why Zhao Heiliang's God of Destruction's Punishment had received so much exposure on the adventure forums. Yet despite all the promotion, its player count had recently begun falling, something he couldn't understand. The reason was simple: he had completely overlooked Great Xia Sleepless City. The first time he heard its name was through Lee Ruoshu's famous gameplay videos, leading him to believe the dungeon's popularity came entirely from Black Rose's reputation rather than its own quality. That misunderstanding only deepened his frustration. Lee Ruoshu had recently ignored the dungeon he supported and spent almost all her time in Great Xia Sleepless City. Even worse, Lee Ruopu was encouraging her to become Chen Yu's contract adventurer, a decision Lee Yunk considered far more important than marriage or any ordinary life choice. Convinced that an unknown rookie dungeon lord couldn't possibly attract so many people through talent alone, Lee Yunk became certain Chen Yu must be relying on some kind of underhanded trick. Unable to tolerate it any longer, he decided to visit Great Xia Sleepless City himself and uncover the truth. Early that morning, Lee Yunk logged into the adventure interface for one of the few times in recent years. With retirement only months away, he had long stopped playing dungeons himself, but Great Xia Sleepless City had finally caught his attention. Opening the territory, he found 2 dungeons. Happy Chess and Cards, 390-400 players. Resident Evil, 161-60 players. Seeing both dungeons so popular surprised him. He had assumed Chen Yu was simply riding on Lee Ruoshu's fame, but creating 2 successful dungeons in such a short time clearly required talent. Since Happy Chess and Cards had the larger capacity, Lee Yunk assumed it must be Chen Yu's main attraction and decided to investigate it first. Unfortunately, he unknowingly entered the Special Exchange Channel, a small area Chen Yu had reserved for players converting daily lives into happy coins. Inside, there was only a small room, a service window, and a bunny girl receptionist. Smiling politely, she asked, "Sir, how many lives would you like to exchange?" Lee Yunk froze. Thinking he had misunderstood, he asked her to explain. The bunny girl patiently replied that players simply used their daily lives to exchange for happy coins. If someone wanted 4 exchanges, they only needed to die 4 times. Those words completely shattered Lee Yunk's composure. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Instead of playing a game, adventurers were supposedly entering just to die on purpose for currency. Convinced this was an outrageous scam, he immediately demanded to meet the dungeon lord. The bunny girl, remembering previous troublemakers, cautiously asked why. Lee Yunk's temper finally exploded. He accused Chen Yu of deceiving adventurers with such a ridiculous dungeon, claiming that while other dungeon lords at least provided gameplay, Great Xia Sleepless City simply told players to die directly while harvesting their soul crystals. He insisted this kind of practice had to be stopped and demanded Chen Yu come out and explain himself. Meanwhile, the bunny girl silently contacted the other receptionists through telepathy. In private, they all reached the same conclusion. This old man must have something wrong with him. Since business was quiet and there were 10 service windows anyway, they simply decided to ignore him and let him continue making a scene by himself. Working alone across 10 service windows, the bunny girl had grown used to difficult customers. She quietly complained to the other receptionists through telepathy while continuing to greet every adventurer with a smile, just as Chen Yu had instructed. Li Yunk, however, overheard the conversation at the next window. An adventurer cheerfully exchanged all of his remaining lives for happy coins, then shamelessly flirted with the bunny girl, hoping she'd give him a few extra coins. She politely refused, but the exchange made Li Yunk draw a completely wrong conclusion. He became convinced Chen Yu was using beautiful NPCs to lure adventurers into an inappropriate honey trap. As president of the Adventurers Guild, Li Yunk believed such games would corrupt the dungeon industry. If this trend spread, serious dungeons would lose their appeal, and Tidal Town's reputation would be ruined. Determined to save everyone, he shouted at the adventurer next door, warning him not to ruin his future with such a crooked game. The only response he received was, "You're crazy." Those two words nearly shattered Li Yunk's composure. Furious, he grabbed a stool and repeatedly smashed it against the service window, frightening the bunny girl. Even then, she remained professional, calmly asking him to stop and warning that she'd have to remove him if he continued causing trouble. Li Yunk refused to back down, declaring that he would never let Chen Yu earn a single soul crystal. He stormed out of the dungeon. The system immediately displayed. Settlement complete, reward none. System notice, anger is bad for your health. If you fail the challenge, just try again. That final message only made him even angrier. Returning to his office, Li Yunk became more convinced than ever that Great Xia sleepless city represented an unhealthy trend that had to be eliminated before it spread any further. Just then, the Adventurers Guild's front desk arrived with a report. Resident Evil's normal mode was exploding in popularity, and countless adventurers were continuously tagging both the guild and every major strategy group. After organizing the flood of messages, the assistant hurried into Li Yunk's office. The Adventurers Guild soon informed Li Yunk that countless players were requesting an official tournament. According to them, Resident Evil was a rare large world dungeon, and they wanted every major strategy group in Tidal Town to compete. The words large world immediately caught Li Yunk's attention. He knew how valuable such dungeons were. In all his years as an adventurer, he had only seen professional tournaments held in higher-level cities. Tidal Town had never possessed a large world of its own. When the assistant added that the dungeon belonged to Great Xia Sleepless City, Li Yunk's expression instantly darkened. Still convinced the territory was nothing more than the crooked dungeon he had just visited, he exploded in anger. He dismissed the idea entirely, mocked the proposal, and flatly refused to organize any tournament. "Tell them all to leave, I won't organize it, not in this lifetime." The stunned assistant could only post an official announcement stating that the Adventurers Guild would not be organizing a Resident Evil tournament. The decision disappointed countless adventurers. Some accepted it, while others openly criticized the guild for wasting such a rare opportunity. Overwhelmed by the backlash, the assistant simply closed the forum and ignored the comments. Meanwhile, Li Yunk gradually began to calm down. Thinking back, something didn't add up. It was possible for a handful of adventurers to be fooled, but thousands. That seemed impossible. Curious, he reopened Great Xia Sleepless City's page instead of rushing into a dungeon. This time, he carefully examined the community posts and noticed the most popular video on the forum. Black rose blooms in the laser corridor, top A slays the liquor. Recognizing Ruoshu's name, he clicked on the video. As the footage began, the futuristic Hive laboratory and its deadly laser corridor appeared before him. Li Yunk froze in place. With the Adventurers Guild refusing to organize a tournament, everyone turned their attention to the major strategy groups. The Jiuquan Raiders group was the first to respond, saying they would gladly participate for the fun of it. Soon after, the Wind Squad and Yunxiao strategy group also confirmed they would enter Resident Evil's large world. Only the Changsu strategy group remained silent, becoming the target of endless jokes from the community. Since ordinary adventurers couldn't be allowed to interfere with professional matches, players proposed opening a separate world exclusively for the competing teams. Believing Bai Feifei, the president of Chen Yu's fan club, could contact him, they asked for her help. Although Bai Feifei couldn't reach Chen Yu directly, she contacted Lena through Happy Chess and Cards, who quickly relayed the request. Chen Yu immediately approved the idea. Creating a separate Raccoon City instance was simple, requiring only a dedicated participant list. Before Lena left, however, Chen Yu stopped her with a grin. He told her to inform everyone that opening a new world required additional energy, so if players wanted the tournament sooner, they should sacrifice more lives to earn the necessary soul crystals. After Lena left, Chen Yu checked his unread messages and noticed Li Xia had been contacting him for over a week, worried after hearing rumors that a nearby dungeon lord had died. Feeling slightly guilty, he finally replied, reassuring her that he was safe and asking her not to risk coming to find him. Soon afterward, the system reported that his half-elf swordsman had discovered an abandoned village. Chen Yu immediately absorbed the territory, spent 100 soul crystals to activate its protective barrier, built a teleportation array, and instructed the half-elves to restore the village whenever they had time. With over 1,000 soul crystals now accumulated thanks to enthusiastic adventurers constantly dying in his dungeons, Chen Yu decided it was finally time to activate the protective barrier for another newly acquired territory. He selected Activate. The system responded. Activation failed. Creatures that do not belong to this territory are still inside. Please remove them before trying again. Surprised, Chen Yu opened his territorial map. There, sneaking through the new territory, was a lone lizardman scout carrying a spear. Someone else's subordinate had already infiltrated his land. Chen Yu quickly dealt with the lizardman scout by sending 2 half-elf swordsmen through the teleportation array. The intruder was eliminated without difficulty, allowing Chen Yu to activate the territory's protective barrier and secure his newly acquired land. With that finished, he turned his attention back to Resident Evil. After receiving Bai Feifei's request, Chen Yu announced that a new competition world was being prepared. A progress bar appeared on the Resident Evil interface, starting at 83%. Players immediately understood the hint. If they wanted the tournament sooner, they needed to exchange more lives for happy coins, providing Chen Yu with the soul crystals required to complete the new world. Although everyone joked that Chen Yu was shamelessly harvesting their soul crystals, they eagerly rushed back to happy chess and cards to exchange every remaining attempt. When Chen Yu added a note saying all proceeds would be used to expand the Resident Evil dungeon, the exchange line became even more crowded. Lena quickly called in 3 more bunny girls to handle the overwhelming workload. Watching the crowds, Chen Yu realized his territory was running short on manpower. He decided that after today's tournament, he would send people to recruit more rabbiteer and half-elf residents from nearby settlements. Meanwhile, soul crystals poured into his inventory, increasing by more than 2,000 in a short time. At the same time, Chen Yu manually adjusted the progress bar. 83%, 84%, 97%, 98%, 99%. Then, it stopped. No matter how desperately the adventurers exchanged lives, the progress barely moved. The chat exploded with anxious messages, urging everyone to spend every remaining attempt and even recruit friends just to push the final percentage. After a long wait, the bar finally crawled to 99.1%. The crowd nearly lost its mind. Among them, Ruoshu simply rolled her eyes. She had already figured Chen Yu out. She had planned to enjoy Resident Evil using the VIP pass she had finally earned, but first her father delayed her, then the Black Rose Raiders group invited her to play, and finally the proposed professional tournament forced everyone to wait even longer. Seeing the progress bar stall, she instantly understood Chen Yu's plan. He wasn't short on energy. He was squeezing out a few more soul crystals before finishing the job. Still, Ruoshu didn't mind. The more resources Chen Yu earned, the faster Great Zia's sleepless city would grow, and she had already decided she wanted to become one of his contract adventurers. She simply waited patiently. At last, the new world progress reached 100%. After Bai Feifei submitted the participant lists, Lena finished registering every team for the tournament. At the last moment, the previously silent Changsu strategy group finally joined. Alongside the 5 major strategy groups, Qi Maosong also formed an independent team with Wu Yue and 3 well-known adventurers, creating a dark horse lineup backed by the community. With all 6 teams assembled, 30 adventurers entered a special Raccoon City instance. The only objective was simple: survive until the end. Even Ruoshu, who usually preferred solo challenges, became excited by the competitive format. As the dungeon opened, viewers packed into the live streams. The first team shown was the Jiuquan Raiders group, which spawned inside an apartment. While admiring how detailed and lifelike Raccoon City felt, they quietly prepared to begin their strategy. Then every live stream suddenly flashed red. A server-wide announcement appeared. The Honorable Starry Sky member Li Ruoshu has descended into this channel. Immediately afterward, a second message filled every screen. When the blood-red crown hangs above the mountain peaks, the Crimson King steps across a sea of corpses. All living beings bow as the bell of apocalypse tolls. For a moment, everyone thought a hidden boss had appeared. Then they realized the truth. This was Li Ruoshu's entrance effect, unlocked by holding the Crimson King title at the top of the Rookie Mode leaderboard. The entire community erupted with envy. Players dreamed of earning enough contribution points and Starry Sky rewards to receive their own server-wide entrance announcement someday. Li Ruoshu, meanwhile, was dying of embarrassment. Besides the dramatic title, Chen Yu had automatically equipped her with the Crimson King outfit, a stylish red and black combat suit inspired by Ada Wong. Although the equipment bonuses were disabled for tournament fairness, the appearance remained, drawing endless praise from the audience while Li Ruoshu wished the flashy introduction would disappear. To ensure a fair match, Chen Yu also gave every participant the same tactical backpack used in Rookie Mode and disabled all exclusive equipment bonuses. Once the entrance effects ended, the tournament officially began. The 6 teams left their starting rooms and cautiously stepped into Raccoon City. Among them, the Changsu strategy group attracted attention because of an unfamiliar new member. Although viewers were curious about the mysterious recruit, the team offered no explanation and quietly began exploring alongside everyone else. While the professional match was being prepared, hundreds of adventurers had already streamed Resident Evil, giving every strategy group plenty of footage to study. By the time the competition began, each team already knew common zombie behaviors and possible event locations. The classic tactic block the door, leave a gap, eliminate zombies one by one, made the opening hospital section effortless for the experienced teams. Meanwhile, Chen Yu finally took a break after days of non-stop work and watched the competition from his territory. Unlike the spectators switching between streams, he could observe the entire Raccoon City at once. The earlier progress event had earned him over 4,000 soul crystals, enough to repay his predecessor's debt. Expecting Resident Evil's popularity to keep growing, he immediately expanded his territory by building 15 Resident Evil dungeons, increasing capacity to 600 players, while happy chess and cards remained at 400. He also constructed residential houses for Lena and future employees, adventurer cabins allowing up to 4 contract adventurers. To everyone else, the tournament was entertainment. To Chen Yu, it was an audition to recruit capable contract adventurers. After watching Li Ruoshu's gameplay and reviewing Resident Evil himself, Li Yunk finally realized he had made a huge mistake. He rushed out of his office. Release an announcement immediately. The Adventurers Guild will officially organize the Great World Tournament. The assistant hesitated. President, the competition already started. Li Yunk's expression froze. Quick, gather the commentators and editors. I'm going to Great Zia Sleepless City right now to request authorization from the Dungeon Lord. His earlier pride disappeared instantly. This wasn't just another dungeon, it was a genuine great world, exactly what Tidal Town needed to become an outstanding town again. He now regretted focusing all his support on famous IP dungeons like Zhao Heiliang's, while ignoring Chen Yu's masterpiece. Opening the system, he noticed Resident Evil's player limit had already expanded from 160 to 600, leaving him even more shocked. Unsure where to find Chen Yu, Li Yunk returned to the familiar exchange room in happy chess and cards. The bunny girl looked up in surprise. Sir, you're back. Didn't you say you'd rather starve to death, die outside, or jump off a building than come here again? Li Yunk smiled awkwardly. I was too impatient before, I misunderstood everything, please forgive me. The bunny girl simply smiled. It's all right, sir, so how may I help you today? Li Yunk clasped his hands politely. I'm the president of the Adventurers Guild. I'd like to meet your dungeon lord. Could you please help me arrange it? Chapter 63, I must have had a brain fart, compressed recap. After hearing Lena's report, Chen Yu laughed. To him, Li Yunk's earlier outburst was a minor incident. Since troublemakers could simply be banned from the dungeon, it wasn't even worth mentioning. However, the Adventurers Guild requesting official broadcasting rights was another matter. Chen Yu quickly realized this would greatly increase Great Xia Sleepless City's reputation, but since the guild desperately needed his Great World Dungeon, he decided to negotiate. He offered two conditions. The Adventurers Guild must permanently prioritize and promote Great Xia Sleepless City's dungeons. Ownership of the tournament would always belong to Chen Yu, who could revoke the authorization whenever he wished. Lina delivered the terms. Li Yunk accepted the first condition immediately, promising to make Great Xia Sleepless City's dungeons the guild's top recommendation. The second condition made him hesitate. He understood Chen Yu was securing long-term influence over Tidal Town through the tournament. When Lina turned to leave, Li Yunk finally gritted his teeth. I agree to everything. With that, Chen Yu secured an important foothold in the adventurer world. As long as his dungeons kept growing, his influence over the Adventurers Guild would continue to expand. After receiving authorization, Li Yunk hurried back, quietly exchanged 4 lives for 2,000 happy coins, and rushed to organize the official broadcast. Soon, the guild's commentators went live. Welcome everyone, I'm commentator Yuan. And I'm Zio He. The official tournament broadcast immediately attracted countless adventurers. Unlike personal live streams, it followed the overall battlefield, while individual viewers could still watch their favorite teams separately. Some viewers joked, "Didn't the Adventurers Guild refuse to organize this earlier? Maybe they just had a brain fart." Hearing those comments, Li Yunk could only sigh inwardly. I really did have a brain fart. Had he approached Chen Yu properly from the beginning, both sides could have cooperated without him giving away so much. Meanwhile, the match itself entered its main phase. All 6 teams cleared their starting apartments, gathered supplies, and began exploring Raccoon City. The commentators announced, Jiu Xuan is the first team to leave the apartment. They've collected plenty of equipment, including a submachine gun which just shredded a smoker during their advance. With the official commentary underway, the atmosphere of Tidal Town's first professional Resident Evil tournament finally reached its peak. After leaving their starting apartments, every strategy group headed toward a different landmark they had identified from previous live streams. Although they only had a compass, careful observation had allowed them to piece together a rough map of Raccoon City. The Jiu Xuan Raiders group quickly set off for what they believed was the underground research facility, hoping to find powerful weapons or clues to clear the dungeon. Along the way, every team silently eliminated scattered zombies with melee weapons, avoiding gunfire that could attract larger hordes. Meanwhile, the Feng's strategy group encountered a far bigger problem, a tank zombie. After a teammate had fired a shot earlier, the massive monster tracked them down. The squad hid behind an abandoned armored vehicle while debating whether someone should sacrifice themselves to lure it away. Instead, their captain noticed something strange. The abandoned vehicle was also called a tank. Curious, they wondered if it could actually be entered. Using a grenade to create a diversion and a smoke grenade for cover, the team climbed onto the armored vehicle before the tank zombie returned. A mechanic specialist found a hatch on top and forced it open. Inside, 2 infected soldiers attacked them, but they were quickly eliminated. Once the compartment was secured, the entire squad climbed inside. Searching the interior, the mechanic discovered an operation manual. After reading it, his eyes lit up. This isn't just a vehicle, it's a battlefield weapon. According to the manual, the tank required 4 operators, a driver, commander, gunner, and loader, while a 5th teammate could operate the mounted machine gun. Realizing they had just found a fully functional armored vehicle, both the Fenghi team and the countless adventurers watching the broadcast were left stunned. Suddenly, defeating the terrifying tank zombie no longer seemed impossible. The tank zombie searched the area where the grenade had exploded, unaware that the abandoned tank behind it had quietly come to life. Thanks to Chen Yu's simplified controls and nearly silent engine, the Feng's strategy group quickly mastered the vehicle. The captain directed the aim, while the mechanic locked the 120mm cannon onto the unsuspecting tank zombie. Fire! The shell struck almost instantly. With a deafening explosion, the tank zombie was blown apart in a single shot. Cheers erupted inside the vehicle and across every live stream. As nearby zombies rushed toward the noise, the team's machine gunner climbed onto the turret and mowed down the incoming horde. For the first time, the adventurers experienced the overwhelming power of modern military weapons. Meanwhile, Chi Maosong's passerby squad was far less fortunate. The Nemesis pursuer found them almost immediately, killing one teammate before Chi Maosong deliberately drew the boss away. Instead of hiding indoors, he sped through the city on a motorcycle, weaving through abandoned streets while rockets exploded behind him. The chase soon attracted an enormous zombie horde trailing behind Nemesis. Spectators quickly realized Chi Maosong's destination: the gas station. Earlier, another adventurer had accidentally blown it up, revealing its destructive potential. Everyone instantly understood his plan: to lure Nemesis into the station and destroy it in one massive explosion. Even Chen Yu became interested in the strategy. But just as Chi Maosong approached, gunfire suddenly rained down from a nearby building. It was the Yongxiao strategy group. Mistaking him for an enemy, they opened fire, forcing Chi Maosong to dodge while riding at full speed. The audience erupted in frustration. They had been waiting to watch the gas station explode. Still, others pointed out that this was a PvP competition. Attacking rival teams was completely reasonable. Instead of fleeing, Chi Maosong suddenly stopped, flashed a mocking too-weak gesture toward Yongxiao, then turned his motorcycle into a nearby alley. The Yongxiao members were momentarily confused. A second later, they heard heavy footsteps. Turning around, they saw Nemesis, carrying its rocket launcher, charging straight toward them. The Yongxiao strategy group barely escaped the Nemesis's rocket barrage by diving into a nearby building. The monster fired 4 rockets in seconds, then advanced with its infrared scanner, only to find no living targets outside. Although the commentator praised their reaction speed, the team was in terrible shape. One member had already lost a leg and the others were bruised and shaken. The captain quickly shut down complaints about Chi Maosong, reminding everyone that this was a hostile competition. If they could attack him, he could just as easily use the Nemesis to strike back. The truth was, the team had completely underestimated Resident Evil. Before entering, they assumed it would be a straightforward competition of weapon collection and team battles. In reality, the city was flooded with zombies, gunfire attracted overwhelming hordes, and even the elite monsters like the Smoker, the exploding fat zombie, and the Witch were far deadlier than expected. The squad had originally intended to reach the underground mall, but after being frightened by the monsters, they had been hiding near the office building instead. Their attempt to shoot Chi Maosong backfired spectacularly, since he led the Nemesis straight to them. Thinking they had bought enough time, they moved upstairs and planned to hide until the Nemesis left. They believed the building would shield them from its detection, and that patience would help them outlast the other squads. Then a voice suddenly rang out. "I have found you." Chi Maosong had somehow circled around and entered the building from the back. He waved at them from the far end of the floor, then threw a grenade to blow out the window. The explosion and sudden loss of cover triggered the Nemesis's scanner. The monster raised its Gatling gun and unleashed a storm of bullets through the office floor. Concrete exploded, the room was shredded, and 3 members of Yongxiao were killed instantly. Back in the adventure world, the dead players revived and cursed Chi Maosong's dirty trick, while also admitting the boss's firepower was absurdly lethal. Then one of them looked down at the loot they had received from the dungeon and froze. The Nemesis had dropped far too much. The 3 eliminated Yongxiao members were furious at first, but their anger quickly disappeared when they saw their rewards. The dungeon had given them an enormous haul of high-quality food, including rice and chocolate. So the rumors online were actually true. They had previously seen food bloggers praising Great Zia Sleepless City, but assumed it was just promotional hype. Now they realized the territory really did produce abundant, delicious food. The 3 couldn't help but regret discovering Chen Yu so late. One of them even wondered whether this rapidly developing new lord might eventually challenge the ancient powers that had dominated the adventure world for centuries. If we become his contract adventurers now, could we hit the big time? Unfortunately, they had already been eliminated. They could only hope Chen Yu had noticed their performance. Meanwhile, the livestream had become completely focused on Chi Maosong and the 2 remaining Yongxiao members. The adventurers had now discovered a pattern in the tyrant's behavior. After unleashing its heavy firepower, it would reload before approaching the target to inspect the results. For experienced players, recognizing such patterns was crucial. Normally, Yongxiao could have used those reload windows to escape. Unfortunately, Chi Maosong refused to let them. Every so often, he fired a shot or threw a flashbang, deliberately revealing their position and drawing the tyrant toward them. No matter where Yongxiao hid, the monster followed, bombarding the building with Gatling fire and rockets until the entire structure was nearly collapsing. The psychological pressure became unbearable. Eventually, Yungseo's captain decided they had to fight back. Split up. The two separated through the ruined upper floors but stayed close enough to support each other. One deliberately exposed himself as bait while the captain hid nearby, waiting for Chi Maosong to appear. Sure enough, Chi Maosong threw another flashbang. The exposed Yungseo member immediately spotted him and opened fire, blocking his escape route. The captain rushed in from behind. Red-tad-tad-tad. The Gatling gun erupted, eliminating the exposed teammate. Now only Chi Maosong and the Yungseo captain remained. Chi Maosong was forced into a dead end. The captain raised his pistol and fired repeatedly. Click, click. Empty. Chi Maosong stepped out from cover with a grin. Out of ammo, huh? I told you to conserve it. He raised his own pistol. Now do you want to bet whether there's a bullet in mine? The captain stared at the muzzle. There was obviously a bullet. Glick. Silence. Both men froze. Chi Maosong had run out too. For a moment, neither side could do anything. The supposedly deadly final duel had turned into two professional players staring at empty guns. With both guns empty, the Yungseo captain finally saw an opportunity. He drew his military knife with a confident grin. Looks like we'll have to use bayonets. I'm actually pretty good at this. He proudly revealed that he had once won a fencing championship, then flourished the blade and prepared to fight Chi Maosong in close combat. Instead, Chi Maosong casually dropped another flashbang at his feet. What the hell are you doing? Saying goodbye, of course. Chi Maosong smashed through the window and jumped out. At the same moment, the tyrant's Gatling gun opened fire, eliminating the Yungseo captain. But Chi Maosong had already planned his escape. Before entering the building, he had noticed several protruding structures along its exterior. As he fell, he fired a grappling hook, used it to slow his momentum, released it, then fired a second hook before landing. He finally rolled onto the grass, escaping with only minor scrapes. The commentator was stunned. Holy crap, that's awesome. The adventurers watching erupted. Chi Maosong had essentially taken on an entire strategy group by himself, turning the fight into another spectacular highlight. But his plan wasn't finished. Throughout the battle, Chi Maosong had deliberately guided the tyrant's attacks toward the building's structural supports. As the tyrant reloaded on the upper floors, Chi Maosong threw his last two grenades at the already damaged support pillars. Boom! The building finally gave way. The tyrant fired wildly as the structure collapsed beneath it, while Chi Maosong escaped on his motorcycle. The entire office building crashed down, burying the tyrant beneath tons of rubble. The spectators went wild. Chi Maosong had seemingly achieved the first tyrant kill of the competition. Everyone praised his incredible planning, realizing that his constant use of flashbangs had likely been part of a larger strategy to lure the tyrant into position and weaken the building. But then, Chi Maosong noticed movement beneath the rubble. A massive arm suddenly burst through the debris. Roar! A gigantic monster crawled out. It looked like a monstrous zombie-like mini-Godzilla, with an enormous body, huge arms, and glowing red eyes. The system notification appeared. Tyrant's second form. Everyone watching was stunned. Even Chi Maosong couldn't process what he was seeing. The tyrant had entered its second form. Its body was far larger, and its speed had increased dramatically. Chi Maosong immediately jumped onto his motorcycle and fled at full speed. Big brother, I was wrong, please stop chasing me. His desperate cries made the spectators laugh, but everyone was now asking the same question. How were they supposed to kill something this terrifying? Back in his territory, Chen Yu watched with genuine surprise. Originally, he had designed the tyrant as a boss that would require hundreds of adventurers to defeat, with the first phase alone demanding dozens of players. Yet Chi Maosong had cleared the entire first phase essentially by himself. Well, with Yungseo unwillingly contributing to the operation, perhaps it technically counted as a team effort. Regardless, Chen Yu had to admit that Chi Maosong's ability to exploit the environment and bring down the tyrant's first form proved that this passerby player was genuinely exceptional. While Chi Maosong was fighting the tyrant's second form, the other teams continued exploring Raccoon City with far more caution. The Wind Squad had already secured a tank and used it mainly as transport, relying on its enclosed structure to move through zombie-filled streets without attracting attention. Thanks to it, they were able to scout far more efficiently than the other groups. The Changsu strategy group went straight for the police station, where they discovered a huge weapons depot packed with RPGs, machine guns, assault rifles, and sniper rifles. Realizing they had found one of the map's major firepower points, Chang Wenhao immediately ordered them to fortify the station and defend it instead of wandering outside. Adventurers mocked their turtle-like strategy, but no one could deny it was practical. Meanwhile, Black Rose took a completely different route. Following clues from earlier live streams, Ruoshu led her team straight to an underground laboratory hidden beneath Raccoon City, the hive base from Rookie Mode. Chen Yu had turned it into a secret Easter egg and stored the T-virus there, but he hadn't expected it to be discovered so quickly. The umbrella-style markings made the location easy to recognize, and Chu Ryuxu's careful route planning helped the team avoid most zombie groups while collecting decent equipment along the way. At the lab entrance, Chu Ryuxu used a simple computer Chen Yu had prepared to crack the door password. Although the machine came with a tutorial, it was still completely foreign to people from this world, and she had spent hours figuring it out. But once she understood how it worked, she became fascinated by the entire system of code and passwords. After the final line of code, the door finally opened. Ruoshu led the team inside first, and a wave of zombies immediately rushed out. Black Rose held them off with submachine guns and plenty of ammunition, calmly cutting them down one by one. After clearing the entrance, Ruoshu threw a flashbang inside for safety. In the flash of white light, everyone saw a figure crawling across the ceiling. The creature turned its head, then quickly retreated deeper into the lab. The creature crawling across the ceiling was a licker, and Ruoshu recognized it instantly. If this was the same hive laboratory from Novice Mode, she suspected there could be more than a dozen lickers inside. The darkness also suggested that the Red Queen had already been shut down, leaving the facility overrun with zombies and mutated creatures. Chu Ryuxu questioned why Ruoshu insisted on exploring such a dangerous place, when the competition's real priority was finding powerful weapons and eliminating rival teams. Ruoshu explained that during Novice Mode, she had discovered several areas she could never access. Since a dungeon lord wouldn't spend so much effort constructing meaningless locations, she believed the laboratory must contain important information, especially about the virus. Chu Ryuxu agreed. In a dungeon, unusually detailed or unique locations were often where the most important secrets were hidden. The team switched on their tactical flashlights and cautiously entered the dark laboratory. Zombies occasionally moved through the darkness, keeping everyone tense. The Zhang sisters stayed close together, with Zhang Xia nervous while Zhang Xiyu was almost excited to encounter something she could shoot. Soon they discovered something unexpected, a train. Ruoshu immediately recognized it as the same train from Novice Mode. Chu Ryuxu connected her laptop to the train's control system. Fortunately, the laboratory still had electricity, and Chen Yu had deliberately simplified the controls so the adventurers could operate it without complicated repairs. A few minutes later, the train started moving deeper into the laboratory. But Black Rose didn't realize they had company. As the train departed, 5 figures quietly jumped aboard and hid inside the final carriage. They were the Jiu Xuan team. The spectators immediately realized what was happening. Jiu Xuan had been watching Black Rose from a distance while they opened the laboratory entrance, clearly waiting for an opportunity to follow them inside. The reason soon became clear. Chen Yuxuan had once been Black Rose's ace. After Ruoshu emerged and surpassed her, Chen Yuxuan left the team and eventually founded the Jiu Xuan Raiders group with her brother. For years, Ruoshu had remained the rival Chen Yuxuan most wanted to defeat. Now both teams had unknowingly entered the same laboratory, and Jiu Xuan had deliberately followed Black Rose inside. As the train continued through the underground tunnels, the Zhang sisters patrolled the front carriage with their submachine guns. Outside the windows, the train's lights illuminated rows of zombies standing motionless in the darkness, silently watching the train pass. Neither team knew what was waiting for them deeper inside the hive. As the train traveled deeper into the hive, more than a dozen zombie dogs suddenly leaped onto its roof. Zhang Xia immediately raised her submachine gun, but Zhang Xiyu calmly reminded her that the sealed train could withstand the creature's attacks. The zombie dogs were quickly left behind. Then, without warning, a licker smashed through a train window and entered the carriage. Zhang Xia opened fire immediately, forcing the creature to retreat into another carriage. Zhang Xiyu excitedly chased after it, with her sister following close behind. Li Ruoshu stayed back with Chu Hueru to protect Chu Ryuxu. She knew the sisters were strong enough to handle a single licker with their upgraded equipment. The licker tried to ambush them from the ceiling, but the sisters reacted quickly. Zhang Xiyu unleashed controlled bursts while Zhang Xia used grenades and a flashbang to disrupt the monster. With the licker blinded and stunned, they concentrated their fire on its vulnerable head. The creature finally lost its grip and fell from the moving train, where it was crushed beneath the wheels. A notification immediately appeared in Chen Yu's mind. An adventurer had perfectly killed a licker and obtained a licker illustration card. Chen Yu was delighted. Professional adventurers were proving especially valuable because difficult kills had a higher chance of producing monster cards. Meanwhile, the spectacular fight had been broadcast to the entire Tidal Town. With the Adventurers Guild promoting the competition, the livestream had attracted an enormous audience. Viewers were amazed that Black Rose could deal with a licker so easily. Soon the train reached the deepest section of the hive. Countless zombies swarmed toward it, forcing Black Rose to disembark and clear the area with grenades and gunfire. After opening a path, they continued toward the laboratory. Several minutes later, the Jiu Xuan team finally left the last carriage. Chen Yuxuan watched Black Rose disappear ahead. Because Black Rose had already cleared most of the zombies, Jiu Xuan could simply follow behind and conserve their ammunition. Chen Yu suggested taking advantage of the opportunity to ambush Black Rose, but Chen Yuxuan refused. The terrain was more complicated than expected, and the unusually large number of lickers made the area extremely dangerous. They needed to remain cautious. Her warning proved correct almost immediately. A licker suddenly sprang from the darkness toward Zhao He. Chen Yu fired his automatic rifle, but the creature continued forward. Chen Yuxuan quickly raised her shotgun and blasted it backward, giving Chen Yu the opening to finish it with a precise shot. The gunfire exposed Jiu Xuan's presence. Black Rose had already killed 3 lickers, and now both teams knew the other was following them. Hearing the shots behind them, Chu Hueru exchanged a glance with the Zhang sisters. The two immediately stopped and waited. After killing the licker, the Jiu Xuan team continued following Black Rose through the hive. But Black Rose had already prepared an ambush. As Jiu Xuan passed a laboratory corridor, flashbangs exploded from both sides, filling the area with blinding light. The Zhang sisters then began taunting their former teammate. Zhang Xiyu cheerfully called out to Chen Yuxuan, repeatedly saying how much she missed her. Chen Yuxuan responded by throwing smoke grenades and firing through the haze. One precise shot struck Zhang Xiyu's arm, but instead of retreating, she became even more excited. The Zhang sisters clearly weren't trying to defeat Jiu Xuan directly. They were buying time. Zhang Xia suddenly destroyed the laboratory door behind Jiu Xuan, while Xiyu revealed their real plan. The noise and gunfire had attracted a massive number of zombies, zombie dogs, and several lickers. Jiu Xuan realized they had been deliberately trapped. Before they could escape, Zhang Xia blocked their retreat with grenades and gunfire. Chen Yu could only laugh bitterly at the sisters' reckless tactics. Chen Yuxuan immediately recognized their strategy and ordered everyone to prepare for battle. The laboratory descended into chaos. Dozens of zombies and zombie dogs flooded the area while multiple lickers attacked from the darkness. Jiu Xuan used the laboratory's cover to defend themselves, and Chen Yuxuan displayed terrifying combat ability, blasting through zombies and even killing lickers at close range. But the enemies simply kept coming. The earlier gunfire, explosions, and Zhang Xiyu's blood had attracted even more creatures from the surrounding area. Eventually, Zhang Xia was overwhelmed by a licker and logged out. Jiu Xuan continued fighting until their ammunition was nearly exhausted. One by one, their members fell until only Chen Jiu and Chen Yuxuan remained. Chen Yuxuan realized too late that she had underestimated the Zhang sisters and lacked enough knowledge of the dungeon's mechanics. Even though she could defeat a licker individually, the problem was that lickers never fought one at a time. Eventually, Chen Jiu was also eliminated. Chen Yuxuan was left alone. Then 2 figures appeared at the laboratory entrance. Chu Hueru and Li Ruoshu had returned. But they were no longer the same. Their eyes now contained an eerie black coloration, and their physical abilities had clearly been enhanced. When a zombie dog attempted to ambush them, Chu Hueru simply grabbed it with both hands and tore it apart through sheer strength. The entire livestream audience was stunned. The T-virus wasn't merely a hidden plot element. After being injected, it had dramatically enhanced the host's physical capabilities, far beyond ordinary human limits. Chen Yu was surprised that out of the 3 people who injected the T-virus, 2 actually survived and gained powerful enhancements. Only Ruoshu failed the mutation and turned into a zombie, but a 2 out of 3 success rate was still shocking. Seeing this result, Chen Yu realized that the professional players in this tournament were full of potential. If he could recruit more of them as contract adventurers, it would greatly help the future of his territory. With Ruoshu and Chen Yu strengthened by the virus, the last licker in the laboratory was quickly killed. The 2 then stood in front of Chen Yu. Chen Yu, humiliated after being outplayed, immediately asked them to kill her. But Ruoshu instead handed her a syringe containing the T-virus, telling her that if they had finally gathered together, they might as well challenge a boss together. After Ruoshu and Chen Yu left, Chen Yu stared at the injection in her hand. After hesitating for a moment, she injected it into herself. Meanwhile, inside Raccoon City, the busiest player was still Chi Maosong. He was being chased like a dog by the tyrant's second form, with the boss and a massive zombie tide tearing through the streets behind him. Lickers, smoker zombies, tanks, and other monsters were all being dragged along in the pursuit. Chi Maosong drove his motorcycle at full speed, weaving through wrecked cars and obstacles at nearly 100 km/h, while the commentator marveled at his reaction speed. Just as the audience wondered whether he could escape again, the commentary suddenly picked up another signal ahead. It was the Wind Squad driving their tank straight toward him. At first, the Wind Squad thought they had simply run into another team. Their gunner even began aiming at Chi Maosong through the tank's sights, but then the ground started shaking. The captain sensed something was wrong and ordered everyone to shut the hatch immediately. A moment later, they saw the horrifying sight ahead. A gigantic zombie tide was pouring toward them, with the tyrant's second form leading the charge. The Wind Squad was stunned. Behind the tyrant came faster creatures like lickers and smoker zombies, followed by heavier monsters such as tanks and fatties. Faced with this overwhelming wave, the Wind Squad finally realized what the apocalypse in Resident Evil really looked like. What they had seen before was only the beginning. Chi Maosong's motorcycle sped past the Wind Squad's tank, with the tyrant following close behind. The Wind Squad immediately shut themselves inside the tank, praying that the tyrant wouldn't notice them. Somehow, the boss really did pass by without attacking. But the massive zombie horde behind it wasn't nearly as merciful. Zombies swarmed over the tank, their footsteps and scraping claws echoing across the metal hull. The Wind Squad could only sit inside and hold their breath. Then a licker landed on top of the tank. It sniffed around before extending its long tongue through the gun barrel, almost reaching the cockpit. The mechanical youth immediately activated the tank's smoke grenades. White smoke enveloped the vehicle. The licker withdrew its tongue, looked around suspiciously, and eventually moved away. The moment it turned its back, the tank's turret rotated. Boom! The main cannon obliterated the licker. Once the zombie tide disappeared into the distance, the Wind Squad's captain suddenly made a decision. Follow them. His teammates were stunned. Then the captain grinned. I'm going to blast that thing to death. The entire squad immediately became excited. They turned the tank around and charged after the tyrant. Meanwhile, inside the police station, Chang Wenhao and his team heard the distant cannon blast and watched the enormous zombie horde through binoculars. They couldn't understand what had triggered such a massive riot. When the Wind Squad's tank eventually passed by, Wu Chengsu mocked their decision to chase the horde, insisting that survival and defensive warfare were the proper strategies. A new member of the Changsu strategy group, Zhang Qinghe, agreed on the surface, but as a powerful sniper from Deep Sea Town, he secretly longed for a real challenge. The spectators quickly recognized him and realized that Changsu had brought in outside help. However, they immediately began mocking the team for hiding in the police station, despite having recruited such a powerful player. Elsewhere, Chi Maosong had finally reached his destination. The gas station. The spectators instantly erupted with excitement, remembering his earlier plan to use the gas station to destroy the tyrant. Chi Maosong accelerated to 130 km/h before jumping from the motorcycle and rolling safely onto the ground. He had no intention of keeping an escape route. He immediately opened every gasoline nozzle, allowing fuel to pour across the station. I remember it was like this. Gasoline can burn and eventually cause an explosion. A wild grin appeared on his face. But before he could ignite it, a zombie dog suddenly tackled him. His pistol flew away. Oh shit. Without the pistol, Chi Maosong had no way to ignite the gasoline. He desperately threw off the zombie dog and rushed toward his weapon. But he failed to notice the liquor waiting on the gas station roof. Its tongue shot downward and pinned him in place. A moment later, the tyrant arrived. With one brutal swipe, the boss eliminated Chi Maosong. Gasoline continued pouring across the station, but its intended detonator was already gone. The spectators stared at the screen in disbelief. After everything Chi Maosong had survived, was this really where his run ended? Chi Maosong had successfully lured the tyrant to the gas station and soaked the entire area in gasoline, but after his death, there was no one left to ignite it. Just when everyone thought his plan had failed, a tank shell suddenly flew across the street and struck the tyrant. Boom! The explosion ignited the gasoline, triggering an enormous blast that engulfed the entire gas station in flames. A massive mushroom cloud rose into the sky. The spectators erupted in cheers. The Wind Squad had made the decisive shot. The 5 teammates climbed onto their tank, celebrating wildly. After watching Chi Maosong's plan fail, they had finally completed it themselves. But their celebration didn't last long. A roar suddenly came from the burning gas station. The tyrant was still alive. Its second form slowly crawled out of the flames, horribly damaged and missing an arm but still moving. The Wind Squad immediately opened fire. Shell after shell slammed into the tyrant while the tank's machine gun poured bullets into it. Yet despite suffering relentless bombardment, the monster continued crawling forward. The tank's cannon began overheating, but the captain refused to retreat. "Keep firing, we're killing this thing today." Just as the squad was reaching their limit, a tanker truck suddenly came speeding down the street. It slammed directly into the tyrant, forcing the monster backward. The driver then rolled down the window. It was Wu Yue. He had already noticed Chi Maosong's plan earlier and followed him with his remaining teammate. They weren't part of any major strategy group and had no real hope of winning the competition. Seeing the wounded tyrant still alive, Wu Yue chose to make one final gamble. His teammate had already been killed in the collision, while Wu Yue himself was badly injured. He looked toward the Wind Squad and shouted, "Fire at me!" The Wind Squad immediately understood. They loaded another shell. Boom! The tank fired directly at the tanker truck. The resulting explosion engulfed both Wu Yue's vehicle and the tyrant in a massive fireball. The tyrant screamed as the point-blank explosion finally brought it down. For a moment, everything became silent. The Wind Squad stared at the burning wreckage. "We actually killed the tyrant." They began celebrating, joking that surely such a terrifying boss couldn't possibly have another phase. Then the flames suddenly began to move. The fire surrounding the tyrant's remains seemed to be absorbed inward. The monster's body twisted and transformed into a gigantic mass of writhing flesh. Its original humanoid form disappeared completely. Huge tentacles erupted from its body, while massive acid-filled pustules covered its back. Its limbs had mutated into enormous tentacles, and the grotesque creature crawled across the ground like some gigantic living organ. Tyrant's third form. The livestream immediately filled with question marks. Even Chi Maosong, who had just returned to the livestream, stared at the monstrous creature with his scalp tingling. The Wind Squad's teammate, who had confidently joked about there being no third phase, silently slapped himself in the face. They had finally learned the most important rule of this dungeon. Never assume the boss is dead until it stays dead. The moment the tyrant's third form appeared, the captain of the Wind Squad immediately ordered his team to reload and fire. He knew their tank's cannon probably couldn't hurt the monster anymore, but he refused to retreat. The tank reversed while shell after shell slammed into the tyrant's enormous body. The explosions only ignited its fleshy growths. Then several gigantic tentacles suddenly shot forward. They wrapped around the tank and violently pulled. The once mighty armored vehicle was instantly ripped apart. Smaller tentacles emerged from the larger ones, reaching through the wreckage and dragging the members of the Wind Squad out one by one. They were swallowed by the monstrous flesh. The entire Wind Squad was eliminated. The spectators fell silent. How could anyone possibly defeat something like this? With the Wind Squad gone, only Black Rose, Juk Xuan, and Chang Su remained in the competition. Many spectators were furious at the thought of Chang Su winning after spending the entire match hiding inside the police station. Then someone noticed something terrifying. The tyrant was moving again, and it was heading straight toward the police station. The spectators quickly realized that the third form had entered full map hunting mode. Chen Yu had specifically designed it this way. After eliminating one team, the tyrant would automatically search for the next surviving adventurers. For the first time, everyone actually hoped the boss would destroy Chang Su. Inside the police station, however, Chang Wenhao and the others were still completely unaware of the danger approaching them. They were even mocking the teams that had died in the gas station explosion. Then, several minutes later, a gigantic mass of flesh and tentacles rose between the surrounding buildings. The Chang Su members finally saw it. Everyone froze. The third form was enormous, its body towering between the buildings, while the monstrous mouth on its abdomen looked like an abyss. Even Zhang Qinghe, the powerful sniper from Deep Sea Town, was stunned. Was this really the dungeon created by a lord from Tidal Town, a place that had supposedly failed its selection and been assigned to the Rookie Lord area? The dungeon's technology, design, and monsters were completely beyond anything he had imagined. It was even more impressive than the small worlds created by the strongest lords of Deep Sea Town. Chang Wenhao's shout finally snapped everyone out of their shock. Fire! The entire Chang Su team unleashed everything they had. RPGs streaked through the air. Heavy machine guns roared. Thousands of bullets poured into the tyrant. But the attacks barely slowed it down. The third form reached the police station and swept one enormous tentacle across the building. The entire structure collapsed. The Chang Su members were either killed or injured, forcing the survivors to retreat toward the armory. That was their final source of heavy weapons. The tyrant crawled over the ruins, its massive body crushing everything beneath it. Then it lowered its head and opened its enormous mouth, preparing to swallow the remaining Chang Su members. But at that exact moment, on top of a nearby building, Ruoshu raised an RPG. Her sights were already locked onto the armory. She waited until the tyrant moved into position. Then she fired. The rocket streaked toward the armory. The instant it struck, the entire weapons depot erupted. The armory was packed with explosives, including grenades, TNT, and RPG ammunition. The resulting explosion detonated directly in front of the tyrant's face. Another enormous mushroom cloud rose into the sky. For a moment, the entire battlefield disappeared beneath the flames. The armory explosion created a spectacular blast, and the spectators immediately assumed Chang Su was finished and Black Rose had secured the victory. But when the smoke cleared, the tyrant's third form slowly crawled back to its feet. Worse, it had become even larger. The monster had actually absorbed energy from the explosion and grown to the height of a building. It immediately locked onto Ruoshu and began pursuing her. Meanwhile, the defeated Zhang Qinghe returned to Deep Sea Town with a huge pile of food rewards. He was amazed by both the quality of the dungeon and the resources it produced, while regretting that he had spent the match hiding with Chang Su instead of fighting. His one-time cross-region link had already expired, so he couldn't return to Resident Evil. Desperate to play again, he could only hope Tidal Town invited him, or that the random dungeon system eventually generated it. Zhang Qinghe was so frustrated that he decided to ask the Adventurers Guild to organize a friendly match between the two towns. The situation was much worse for Chang Su. Their passive strategy had made them the laughingstock of Tidal Town. After being completely wiped out, the ridicule became so severe that Chang Wenhao immediately disbanded the entire strategy group. Back in Raccoon City, the competition between adventurers was effectively over. Only Ruoshu remained. Now the entire town was watching her fight the tyrant's third form. The monster tore through skyscrapers as it pursued her, smashing entire buildings apart with its massive tentacles. Ruoshu relied on her grappling hook to leap from building to building, constantly escaping just before the tyrant destroyed her position. She quickly noticed something important. Every time the third form was caught in an explosion, it seemed to absorb the energy and become even larger. So another gas station explosion probably wouldn't work. With no better option, Ruoshu continued using the city's buildings as her battlefield, swinging between rooftops and narrow gaps while the gigantic tyrant demolished everything behind her. Her enhanced physical abilities made every movement incredibly precise. She never missed a grappling hook landing, even while moving at extreme speed through collapsing structures. The spectators were completely captivated. If Chi Maosong's earlier parkour represented the limit of human skill, Ruoshu's movement after the T-Virus enhancement looked almost supernatural. Watching her swing between skyscrapers while an enormous monster chased her, Chen Yu couldn't help but blurt out, "Holy crap, Spider-Man!" In Chen Yu's eyes, Ruoshu had practically become Spider-Man. With her grappling hook movement and enhanced physical abilities, she could swing between skyscrapers while escaping the tyrant's pursuit. But constantly running wouldn't solve the problem. Ruoshu had already tried another gas station explosion. The tyrant simply absorbed the flames and grew even larger. She was convinced Chen Yu must have designed some hidden method to defeat it, so she began searching the city for unusual locations. Just as the tyrant caught up again, helicopter blades suddenly thundered overhead. It was Chu Huero. "Get on!" Ruoshu grabbed the rope ladder and was pulled into the helicopter just before the tyrant's tentacles smashed through the building. Inside, Chen Yu was already waiting with an enormous sniper rifle. The helicopter had been discovered atop the city's tallest towers after the two women left the laboratory. Chen Yu had deliberately placed the aircraft there as another hidden escape route. Chen Yu immediately aimed at the tyrant's eye. Boom! The enormous sniper round struck directly. The tyrant's eye was destroyed, causing it to roar in pain. Unlike its main body, its eyes couldn't regenerate properly, making the attack far more effective than the previous explosions. But the tyrant quickly adapted. Its remaining eye locked onto the helicopter, and it began climbing after them. Chen Yu fired again, but this time a tentacle intercepted the bullet. She couldn't find another obvious weak point. Meanwhile, Ruoshu hung from the rope ladder and surveyed the city below. She searched the stadium. Nothing. The central plaza. Nothing. The secret research facility. Then her eyes landed on a massive industrial complex filled with enormous chemical storage tanks. Danger signs covered the facility. Chemical plant complex. Ruoshu immediately realized this could be the answer. Captain, head toward the chemical plant. Chu Huero immediately changed course. The tyrant followed, smashing through buildings and tearing apart the city as it chased the helicopter. Chen Yu wasn't convinced the chemical plant would work. Ruoshu simply shrugged. They already had several bombs aboard the helicopter. There was only one way to find out. Chen Yu watched with interest. He had actually designed several potential ways to kill the third form: a laser weapon hidden inside the research institute, heavy missiles at the military base, and even the nuclear power plant. But all of those required complicated procedures. The chemical plant was much simpler. If everything inside detonated simultaneously, the resulting explosion would have the equivalent force of roughly 2,000 tons of TNT, more than enough to destroy the tyrant. The downside was terrifying. The blast radius could reach nearly 100 kilometers, potentially destroying the entire city. Soon the helicopter reached the chemical plant. The tyrant crossed the river behind them, its enormous body smashing through the bridge. As the monster entered the chemical complex, Ruoshu and Chen Yu grabbed the helicopter's remaining airdrop bombs. One after another, they dropped them over the areas marked as extremely dangerous. 7 or 8 bombs descended toward the chemical storage facilities. Then the helicopter immediately accelerated away. The tyrant continued deeper into the complex, completely unaware of what was about to happen. A moment later, boom! The first explosion erupted. Then another. And another. The blasts rapidly spread throughout the chemical plant, triggering a massive chain reaction. The entire complex began erupting in flames. Then, a blinding white flash swallowed everything. Ruoshu never saw what happened after the white light. The last thing she saw was the chemical plant. Then, light, not fire, not an explosion. For one instant, it looked like a second sun had appeared inside the city. The shockwave followed immediately. Boom! A wall of heat swallowed the helicopter. The rotors melted first, then the body, then everything else. Even after being strengthened and mutated by the T-virus, Li Ruoshu, Chen Yu, and Chu Hueru were still flesh and blood. Several thousand degrees didn't care about enhanced physique. Their consciousness vanished almost instantly. And then, the city disappeared. The live stream went completely silent. No comments, no shouting, nothing. From above, an enormous mushroom cloud rose over the city. Buildings vanished beneath fire. Roads disappeared. The entire skyline was swallowed by smoke, dust, and burning light. For several seconds, millions of watching adventurers seemed to forget how to speak. Then the comments exploded. Was that the chemical plant? My God, that wiped out the whole city, didn't it? Forget the tyrant's third form. Even if it had a fourth form, what exactly is it supposed to do against that? Shut up. Seriously, stop giving Dungeon Lord Chen ideas. Another comment appeared. Is this technology? That one changed the conversation. People had already seen guns, vehicles, explosives, helicopters, rocket launchers. None of those used magic. But this was something else entirely. Technology, a power system completely independent of magic. Wait, doesn't a dungeon need an underlying logical foundation to create something? Yes, either that or enough collective recognition to support the concept. But I've never seen this kind of technology in any other dungeon. If it came from collective recognition, other dungeon lords should have been able to reproduce parts of it. Silence followed. Then someone typed the obvious conclusion. So, Resident Evil's technology has an actual underlying logic. Holy crap. That thought spread quickly. And the more everyone considered it, the more terrifying it became. Magic could destroy armies. Forbidden spells could level fortresses. Some legendary spells could summon meteors. But instantly erasing an entire city. That was another matter. One adventurer finally wrote, technology might have surpassed forbidden magic in destructive power. Nobody laughed. Because after what they just watched, nobody could confidently say he was wrong. Back in my territory, I wasn't exactly calm either. Just for a very different reason. A system notification appeared in front of me. Congratulations. An adventurer has perfectly killed the tyrant Nemesis Pursuer model. Reward obtained, Monster Card X1. I stared at the notification. Then again, Monster Card actually dropped. My mouth slowly stretched into a grin. You've got to be kidding me. An excellent grade monster card. From a level 2 dungeon. The normal drop rate was what? Around 0.02%. You could kill several thousand Nemesis pursuers and still walk away empty-handed. Li Ruoshu and the others had performed extraordinarily well throughout the run, so their actions had increased the drop rate several times. Even then, the odds were still around 1 in 1,000. And it dropped. I leaned back. Okay. Today I apparently borrowed someone's lifetime supply of luck. Not that I was complaining. I accepted the card immediately. With this thing, the Goblin Kingdom suddenly looked much less threatening. Actually, less threatening might have been underselling it. A single Nemesis pursuer could probably walk into that place and start treating goblins like workplace stress relief. Good. One less problem. Of course, there was a reason I couldn't simply farm these cards endlessly. The dungeon system wasn't stupid. If I deliberately created some divine weapon capable of instantly killing the tyrant, the drop rate would collapse. Possibly straight to 0. This chemical plant had already been very close to the system's limit. It worked because the players had to discover it. Reach it. Build a plan around it. Survive long enough to execute that plan. If I'd simply placed the tyrant beside the chemical plant at the beginning and handed everyone a button labeled "Press here to win." 0 reward. Fair enough. Otherwise, every dungeon lord in the Dark World would have created a fake god, handed adventurers a god-killing sword, and started printing monster cards. At that point, the entire Dark World would probably become one giant counterfeit divinity factory. The system clearly wanted interesting dungeons, challenges, exploration, choices, actual player effort. And when those things lined up properly, rewards appeared. I stored the monster card, then opened the system interface and began adjusting the dungeon. The competition was over. Now it was time to deal with the consequences. The professional match ended smoothly, but the final explosion stayed in everyone's minds. And after the footage spread, Tidal Town went insane. The name Resident Evil was suddenly everywhere. Adventurers who had watched the competition imagined themselves joining elite squads, running through ruined streets, driving armored vehicles, fighting zombies, dodging lickers, blasting monsters apart with modern weapons. Some probably pictured themselves leaping between rooftops like Ruoshu. Naturally, they rushed into the dungeon. And naturally, reality introduced itself. Violently, most didn't even survive beginner mode. Some were bitten by ordinary zombies. Some were dragged down by zombie dogs. Others reached the laboratory, saw the frozen liquor, and confidently followed the strategy group's walkthrough. Then the timer ran out. The liquor thawed, and the confidence disappeared. Help! Why is it so fast? The guide said I had more time. The guide assumed you knew how to open a door. Who wrote this stupid guide? The strategy group had already posted detailed routes. That didn't mean everyone could execute them. Knowing what to do and actually doing it were two very different things. Some players took twice as long as professionals to perform simple actions. In most dungeons, annoying. In Resident Evil, deadly. Time was life. If you moved too slowly, the liquor clocked in for work. And beginner mode's liquor wasn't something you could casually shoot to death. The reliable method was still the laser channel. Trying to duel it with the little starting pistol. Good luck. Even Bai Feifei, who everyone lovingly referred to as the Nepo baby, had managed to obtain a Desert Eagle. And still couldn't clear beginner mode. Her biggest problem wasn't equipment. It was pain. Every time a zombie pounced on her, she immediately shut off her pain perception and basically gave up on operating her body properly. Equivalent to taking your hands off the controls mid-fight. Very effective strategy for the zombie. And Bai Feifei wasn't unique. Plenty of adventurers could fight monsters. Far fewer were comfortable being bitten, clawed, chased through narrow corridors, or having a liquor suddenly drop from the ceiling in front of their face. That was one of the main reasons horror and gore-based dungeons rarely became popular. Most people simply didn't enjoy them. Resident Evil was different. Its combat system was different. Its weapons were different. Its progression was different. Its entire gameplay loop felt new. So even though people were terrified, they kept coming back. And right now, nearly half the players inside the dungeon were still stuck in beginner mode. The easy clears everyone had imagined after watching the professionals didn't happen. Instead, the beginner area had become one massive chorus of screaming. Everyone entered believing they were the protagonist. Then the liquor thawed. And apparently, the protagonist was the liquor. Compared to the rookies still getting eaten alive in beginner mode, the veterans who had already cleared normal mode were feeling much better about themselves. Much better. Especially after watching the professional match. They had seen everything. The tank route, the gas station trap, the police station, the aerial grappling hook maneuver, the helicopter at the Twin Towers. Naturally, after watching professionals do it once, everyone reached the same conclusion. Easy. Tank got it. Gas station got it. Police station got it. Grappling hook flight. Blaze. One jump. Twin Towers helicopter route already memorized. Someone in the Resident Evil channel finally said what everyone was thinking. Isn't this basically something anyone with hands can do? Another adventurer immediately replied. Exactly. The professionals already showed us the route, all we have to do is copy it. Watch me solo the tyrant. Confidence was high. Extremely high. Then they entered the dungeon, and Resident Evil began correcting their personalities. Inside one squad's tank, 5 adventurers were screaming over each other. Forward! Forward! No, a little left. Left. Why are you turning right? The driver nearly drove the tank into a ruined building. Someone in the turret shouted even louder. Rotate the cannon 30 degrees right. The barrel spun, and kept spinning, and kept spinning. 30 degrees. Not 360. Brother, stop spinning. Another player struggled with an artillery shell. Load it. I'm trying. Hold it straight. It is straight. That's sideways. Just put the damn shell in. The tank that had looked unstoppable in the professional match was now being operated by 5 people who apparently needed a tutorial for doors. Very impressive. The Hive laboratory wasn't doing much better. Several adventurers stood around the electronic lock. One scratched his head. So what's 1 plus 1? Someone beside him stared. Why are you asking me? I don't know, maybe it's part of the password. Another adventurer pointed toward a loose cable. Can't we just connect the power? Silent. Everyone looked at the wire. Then at the keypad. Then back at the wire. No. 5 minutes later, the screen activated. A small puzzle appeared. One player leaned closer. What's this? Another player's eyes widened. I know this. What? It's called Minesweeper. Everyone became excited. Then solve it. Noisy. Half an hour later, the same player was still staring at the board. His forehead was covered in sweat. Well, this Minesweeper thing is kind of hard. The zombies outside were patiently waiting for their turn. Then came the adventurers who wanted to imitate Chi Maosong. His aerial grappling hook maneuver had become one of the most replayed moments from the professional match. Jump from a building, fire the hook, swing across the street, crash through the opposite window. Simple. At least, it looked simple. The first adventurer jumped. Missed the hook. Well, the second fired too early. The cable attached. He swung straight into the side of the building. Bang! The third actually got the angle right. Mostly, he flew beautifully across the street. Unfortunately, he aimed 1 floor too low. Crash! Another one attached the hook to something that couldn't support his weight. The structure broke. He left this world together with it. Soon, what was supposed to be a zombie survival game had somehow turned into a very organized line of adventurers jumping off rooftops. One after another. Jump, miss, scream, respawn, repeat. When Chi Maosong had done it, he had flown through the window of the opposite building. When these people did it, they mostly introduced their faces to concrete. The chat channel was full of complaints. This thing is impossible. You said it was easy 5 minutes ago. I can do it next time. You said that the last 6 times. Next time is different. Of course, it always was. Then someone had an even better idea. Why bother fighting the tyrant? Why bother going through the normal progression? Just blow up the chemical plant immediately. One adventurer even shouted dramatically while heading inside. Art is an explosion. A few minutes later, he was bitten to death by the zombies inside. Turns out the chemical plant wasn't an unattended giant red button. I had specifically made sure of that. A facility capable of creating a blast with roughly a 100-kilometer radius obviously couldn't be easy to access. If players could casually walk inside and detonate it, every match would end with someone restarting the entire city because they got bored. So the zombies guarding the chemical plant were considerably stronger than normal. And even if players managed to reach the core area, blowing it up wasn't simple either. A few grenades. Not enough. An RPG. Still not enough. The explosion during the professional match had required explosives dropped directly from a helicopter, which created another problem. They needed a helicopter. and the helicopter was located at the Twin Towers. Dozens of floors. Zombies on practically every level. By this point, so many adventurers had died trying to climb the building that corpses were starting to block parts of the entrance. Progress. Technically, still, compared with the average player, these people were doing fairly well. At least they were attempting complicated routes. Most normal mode adventurers had much simpler problems. Namely, staying alive. Resident Evil had once again turned into Left 4 Dead. Players knew where many of the heavy weapons were. Knowing didn't help much. The good equipment was stored in dangerous areas. Dangerous areas contained dangerous monsters. Very revolutionary design. One squad spent 20 minutes planning how to reach an automatic rifle cache. They entered the building. A smoker grabbed the rear player. The other three panicked. Someone shot the wall. Someone shot his teammate. Someone ran away. The smoker probably had the best experience out of everyone involved. And that was just one encounter. The excitement created by the professional match disappeared very quickly. Before entering, I understand everything. After entering, why are there 3 smokers? Before entering, I'll solo the tyrant. After entering, can someone help me with this zombie dog? Before entering, anyone with hands can do it. After entering, Lord Chen Yu, please make US stronger. We need help. I watched the complaints flooding the channel. Then smiled. Finally, they were asking the correct question. Could I make them stronger? Of course. In fact, I'd already prepared something. A system-wide announcement appeared inside Resident Evil normal mode. New systems coming soon. Equipment system. Talent system. Skin system. Purchases will use soul crystals. The reaction was immediate. But first I explained how soul crystals worked. There were 3 main ways to obtain them. The first was simple. Finish a match. The number of soul crystals rewarded at settlement would depend partly on how many zombies the player killed. The second method. Kill other players. PvP kills would also provide a small amount of soul crystals. Both mechanics had technically existed since normal mode launched. It was just that there hadn't been much worth spending soul crystals on yet. Now there was. And then came the third method. The important one. Happy coins. Exchange rate. 1 happy coin 100 soul crystals. A standard Desert Eagle cost. 20,000 soul crystals. Which meant 200 happy coins. The Golden Desert Eagle with infinite ammunition. 100,000 soul crystals. Lord, 1,000 happy coins. I could practically hear wallets opening across Tidal Town. Beautiful. Of course, I wasn't going to release the truly high-end weapons immediately. That would ruin progression. Instead, many stronger weapon variations would initially appear as skins. Find a normal submachine gun. With the correct skin, it could transform into an Uzi submachine gun. A standard automatic rifle. Equip the skin. Now it was an H416 assault rifle. A normal shotgun. Turn it into an MPS AA-12 automatic shotgun. And those were only the basics. There were skins for vehicles too. Motorcycles, tanks, equipment, even the grappling hook inside the tactical backpack. For that one I added a special name. Chi Maosong's signature grappling hook. He had earned it. If adventurers wanted to repeatedly smash themselves into buildings while wearing his signature equipment, who was I to stop them? Character equipment also received skins and upgrades. Helmet's head. Level 1, Level 2, Level 3, and Special Grade. Protective suits followed the same system. With better equipment, ordinary zombies would become easier to deal with. A little easier. I wasn't turning the dungeon into a walking simulator. Then came the part players cared about even more. Talent attributes. Those could also be improved using soul crystals. However, soul crystals alone wouldn't be enough. Another material was required. and that material could only be obtained through match settlement. In other words, want stronger attributes. Play more Resident Evil. Want more settlement materials. Finish more matches. Want soul crystals faster. Kill more zombies. Or spend happy coins. Simple, healthy, perfectly reasonable. For me, the announcement went live, and the adventurers who had spent the entire day being abused by zombies reacted as if a divine savior had descended from the heavens. We can buy a desert eagle. Wait, only 200 happy coins. That's ridiculously cheap. Lord Chen Yu is too generous. I smiled. Yes, very generous. Please continue. 1,000 happy coins for the Infinitamo Golden Desert Eagle. I'd never need to search for ammunition again. Buy it. I'm buying it. Someone else noticed the free method. Wait, you can earn soul crystals just by playing. So technically, we don't even need to spend happy coins. This dungeon is amazing. Conscientious Lord. Conscientious dungeon. I nodded slowly while reading. Exactly. You don't have to spend anything. You can simply die repeatedly for me instead. Everyone wins. Mostly me. The praise continued. The rewards from one Resident Evil run are already better than most previous dungeons. Food alone makes it worth it. From today onward, I'm Lord Chen Yu's dog. That escalated quickly. Another adventurer immediately responded. As long as Great Zia Sleepless City doesn't fall, I swear I'll follow Lord Chen Yu until death. If anyone tries to destroy Great Zia Sleepless City, I'll kill them myself. Exactly. Profit comes first. Whether it's happy chests and cards or Resident Evil, both earn far more than ordinary dungeons. Great Zia Sleepless City is Tidal Town's cash cow now. Protect Lord Chen Yu. Protect the dungeon. Then one final complaint appeared. Lord Chen Yu, please hurry up and develop. Raise the population cap. Seriously, there aren't enough slots. I can't get in. Immediately, hundreds of adventurers agreed. Same. Expanded. Not enough. Completely not enough. I looked at the flood of messages. Players wanted stronger weapons, better equipment, more skins, more attributes, more dungeon slots, and every single one of those things revolved around soul crystals, which could conveniently be exchanged using happy coins. They thought I'd just given them a way to become stronger. Technically, they were right. What they hadn't noticed yet was that I'd also given happy coins another major use. And once people started wanting stronger equipment badly enough, the value of happy coins would naturally rise. I closed the channel with a satisfied smile. They wanted power. I wanted coins. A surprisingly healthy relationship. The adventurers didn't seem to have much of a problem with the new pay-to-win system. There were a few complaints. Naturally. But every time someone questioned it, a swarm of loyal players immediately buried them in the chat. And honestly, I understood why. At the end of the day, adventurers cared about one thing more than anything else. Profit. As long as a dungeon gave returns far beyond everything else available in Tidal Town, who cared if they burned through all 5 lives in a single day? Take happy chests and cards. A lot of people spent their full 2,500 happy coins every day. Sounds terrible. Except when they left the dungeon, the food they earned was usually enough to cover their daily needs. Often with extra. How many other dungeons could say that? Not many. And that was assuming they lost. Sometimes they won. Those extra happy coins could be stored. Or sold. Which meant happy coins weren't just game currency anymore. They were assets. And right now, their value had climbed again. Current exchange rate. 1 happy coin approximately 2 yuan. I looked at the number. Not bad. Not bad at all. People who had accumulated large amounts early, by Fei Fei Lin Ziyak Xiao Li Ruopu Wu Yue and others, had basically watched their assets double again. Naturally, they were delighted. They were also starting to realize something. Betting on me early had been a very profitable decision. At first, landlord had only been interesting because it was new. Then people stayed because the food was good. Now, everything had changed. Once happy coins became tied to actual value, every game of cards felt different. Winning wasn't just winning anymore. It meant money. Losing wasn't just losing either. It meant watching your balance evaporate. And now Resident Evil had added another use for happy coins. The more coins people spent upgrading equipment, the greater the demand. The greater the demand, the more valuable the coins became. And the more valuable they became, the more excited people got whenever they won another round of cards. A very elegant little cycle. For the players, excitement. For me, growth. Everyone was happy. Mostly, the trade channels had already become a marketplace. Buying 10,000 happy coins at 1,198. Unlimited purchases at 1,197. Large sellers get another 0.01 discount. Selling bulk happy coins at 1,201. Private message me. Buying at 1,2. Serious player. Definitely not a merchant. I stared at that last one. Right? Definitely. The people trading coins could roughly be divided into two groups. The first were actual players. They wanted to stock up before the Resident Evil shop officially opened tomorrow. Weapons, skins, equipment, talent upgrades. Everyone wanted something. Then there was the second group. Merchants, or more accurately, speculators. Since happy coin trading currently had no transaction fee and only charged storage costs, some adventurers had immediately noticed the opportunity. Buy low, sell high, pocket the difference. Simple. I watched several accounts repeatedly flipping coins between the two game channels. This felt strangely familiar. Exactly like the merchants in Dungeon and Fighter. Buy cheap, resell slightly higher. Repeat until rich. Should I stop them? No, not yet. For now, they were useful. Speculation increased trading volume. Trading volume increased attention. Attention increased demand. And the more people talked about happy coins, the more valuable the currency looked. Free advertising. Very thoughtful of them. I could always add a small transaction fee later. No rush. Let them enjoy themselves first. Over the course of a single day, the popularity of Great Zia Sleepless City reached a new peak. On one side, adventurers were calculating happy coin prices down to the decimal. On the other, they were being beaten senseless by Resident Evil. A very balanced ecosystem. While all of that was happening, however, another storm was brewing somewhere else. Inside the Adventurers Guild. And this time, I wasn't there to watch it. The conference room of the Adventurers Guild was unusually tense. Several elderly men sat across from Li Yunk. Most had gray or white hair. And none of them looked pleased. The oldest among them finally spoke. Little Li, you've been sitting in the president's position for more than 10 years now, haven't you? Li Yunk remained calm. The elder continued. How is it that after all this time you're becoming less careful instead of more? Another white-haired man immediately followed. This quarter, Tidal Town dropped from a model excellent town to an emerging town. We haven't even held you responsible for that yet. And now you've privately mobilized guild resources without discussing it with us. He frowned. Don't you think that's inappropriate? Another elder sighed and spoke in the tone of someone explaining something obvious to a child. How many times must we tell you? If Tidal Town wants to return to model excellent town status, our resources must be focused on dungeon lords with background, strength, and potential. We need people backed by major forces. People who can guarantee results. He looked toward Li Yunk. I heard the competition you organized today was for a completely new dungeon lord. A newcomer with no background whatsoever. Someone else immediately scoffed. No background. Then what could he possibly accomplish? Throwing guild resources at someone like that is just wasteful. The voices around the table quickly became unanimous. Wasteful. Reckless. Improper. A poor use of resources. Li Yun quietly looked at the elders across from him. All gray-haired. All experienced. All completely certain they were right. And for a moment, he saw his own future. After retirement, he would probably end up sitting on that side of the table too. That thought made him sigh. Because not long ago, he had believed exactly the same thing. New dungeon lords rarely produced anything worthwhile. Investing resources into them. Wasteful. Backing unknown newcomers. Pointless. Better to support established lords with powerful backgrounds. That had been his logic for years. Now Li Yun was simply grateful he hadn't grown old enough to become completely rigid. He had still been capable of admitting he was wrong. More importantly, he had been willing to lower his pride and fix the mistake. And today, he was absolutely certain that supporting Chen Yu had been one of the best decisions he'd ever made. Which meant there was only one thing left to do. Show these old men exactly how wrong they were. Li Yun smiled. Esteemed seniors, I understand you're angry. Several faces stiffened. But please, his smile widened slightly. Don't be angry yet. The room went quiet. I have a video. I think everyone should watch it before continuing. He gestured toward his assistant. Play today's competition. The Adventurers Guild had an unusual structure. Aside from certain specialized positions, a large portion of its senior staff consisted of elderly people who had already lost their systems. Partly it served as retirement employment. Partly the logic was simple. Older adventurers had more experience. More experience meant better judgment. At least, that was the theory. The front desk employees, editors, commentators, and several operational departments were younger. But many of the guild's senior decision-makers were old enough that they no longer entered dungeons themselves. Which meant most of the elders in this room had completely missed the competition. They hadn't watched it. They hadn't followed the live stream. They barely knew what had happened. By the time they heard about it, it was already over. So they came here furious. From their perspective, Li Yun had ignored them, spent guild resources without approval, and thrown support behind some unknown beginner. A complete waste. Then the video started. Two familiar voices came through the speakers. Dear adventurers, I'm commentator Yuan. And I'm Zio. The elders barely reacted. One even leaned back with obvious impatience. Then the footage changed. A bird's eye view appeared. And the room slowly became silent. Raccoon City. A vast city stretched across the screen. Concrete, steel, roads, towering buildings. Entire districts extending into the distance. No magical towers. No floating castles. No giant crystals. Just an enormous man-made city unlike anything they had ever seen. And somehow, that made it even more shocking. The camera drifted over ruined streets. Abandoned vehicles. Dark intersections. Broken buildings. Smoke. The heavy atmosphere of a city already collapsing under disaster pressed through the screen. One elder leaned forward. Another stopped tapping his fingers against the table. Someone quietly adjusted his glasses. The reinforced concrete skyline alone was enough to make their previous expressions disappear. This was made by a new dungeon lord. A newcomer with no background. For the first time since entering the room. None of them had anything to say. One of the elders leaned forward. Another narrowed his eyes at the screen. It's enormous. Bigger than some urban districts I've visited. And the details. He paused. How can there be this much detail? That was the part that truly stunned them. Raccoon City wasn't just large. It was dense. Different districts. Different streets. Different buildings. Different layouts. Nothing looked like a lazy copy pasted 10,000 times. Every area had its own identity. And to the men sitting in this conference room, that was almost absurd. They had all seen great world dungeons before. Plenty of them. But most large-scale dungeons had one obvious weakness. Repetition. A forest. Copy a few tree types. Scatter them everywhere. A plain. Stretch flat terrain into the distance. Add some grass. Maybe flowers. Done. Even powerful dungeon lords rarely wasted huge amounts of effort designing areas that had no direct effect on gameplay. At most, they created a few special landmarks. But this, an entire city, and almost every visible section looked unique. One elder finally stood up. His finger trembled toward the screen. This is the great world you used for the competition. Li Yunk smiled. Correct. This is too. The elder opened his mouth. Closed it. Then tried again. This is too. Nothing. Apparently the vocabulary had failed. Li Yunk's smile deepened. Good. And this was only the opening shot. The footage continued. A zombie suddenly lunged toward the camera. One of the old men nearly jumped out of his chair. The footage was shown from a first-person perspective. Fortunately, the competition participant reacted instantly. A blade flashed. The zombie dropped. The elder frowned. What kind of monster is that? A rotting corpse. Skeleton. Li Yunk shook his head. Neither. It's called a zombie. A completely different species. It spreads through something called a virus. 1 infects 10. 10 infect 100. And if it isn't controlled. He looked toward the screen. It spreads like a plague. The elders exchanged glances. Then slowly nodded. So it's a horror-type dungeon. Not bad. Quite decent, actually. One elder stroked his beard. The city itself is especially impressive. Purely in terms of environmental design, this could already be considered a top-tier Great World dungeon. The others nodded. Their composure had returned. A zombie was strange. But undead monsters. They'd seen plenty. Rotting corpses. Skeletons. Ghosts. Cursed creatures. This was new. Not unimaginable. Li Yunk said nothing. He just smiled. Keep watching. Then the guns appeared. Submachine guns opened fire. RATATATATAT. Zombie hordes collapsed under sustained fire. The elders stopped talking. Then came the tank. Then the liquor. The smoker. The massive tank zombie. The bloated special infected. One after another. All completely unfamiliar. One elder finally licked his lips. Little Lee. Yes, these monsters. He pointed toward the screen. I've never seen any of them. Are they all original creations of this lord? Li Yunk straightened slightly. Correct. Then with considerably more pride than necessary, he smoothed the front of his clothes. I can say this responsibly. Everything in this dungeon is original. Every monster. Every setting. Every system. Everything. The room became quiet again. One elder slowly nodded. To create this many original concepts at once. This lord does indeed have considerable talent. There's room for development. Even the elder seated at the head of the table gave a small approving nod. That was already high praise. Li Yunk looked at them. Then smiled. Seniors, please continue watching. Room for development. Good. Let's see how long that sentence survives. The footage reached the tyrant's first appearance. 4 rockets launched almost simultaneously. Whoosh. Boom, 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 boom. The elder's expressions changed immediately. One slammed a hand onto the table. Magic. Another nodded rapidly. High-level magic. And without chanting. That alone is impressive. To construct a spell with this level of destructive power without incantation requires an excellent understanding of magical foundations. A third elder looked genuinely impressed. In the dark world, this child could already be called a genius. A dungeon lord and a mage. Rare. Then someone pointed toward the tank. And that vehicle. Alchemy, most likely. An alchemical vehicle combined with magic. To integrate those two systems so smoothly. The elders nodded among themselves. Very logical. Very experienced. Very wrong. Li Yung coughed. Zahum. Everyone looked at him. He raised one hand. Seniors. One reminder. When watching this video. He paused. Forget everything you already know. Several brows furrowed. Li Yung pointed toward the screen. This is not magic. Silence. Then he repeated it. Slowly. Please remember. This is not magic. One elder stared at him. Not magic. How could that possibly not be magic? Li Yung smiled mysteriously. He offered no explanation. Keep watching. Yes, he was enjoying this. Very much. Grenades appeared next. Then flashbangs. Smoke grenades. Automatic weapons. A Gatling gun screamed across the battlefield. BRRRRRT. The elder's previous certainty began to crack. These objects kept producing effects that looked like spells. But there were no chants. No magic circles. No visible mana. No elemental fluctuations. Nothing. Then Chi Maosong reached the rooftop. He jumped. The elders collectively leaned forward. The grappling hook fired. He swung through open air toward another building. One old man actually held his breath. Then the tyrant smashed downward through the structure. When his second form emerged, another elder trembled. It has a second form. Interesting. Very interesting. This kind of stage transformation isn't common. Yes, among existing dungeons, this would definitely count as a novel design. By now, their evaluation of Chen Yu had risen considerably. Original city. Original monsters. Original weapons. Transforming boss. It was already enough to stand out. But Li Yung still wasn't satisfied. Because they still didn't understand. Not even close. So he said nothing. The video continued. Chi Maosong lured the tyrant toward the gas station. The explosion erupted. BOOM. Flames swallowed the street. Several elders nodded. Good use of terrain. Creative. That explosion already has considerable power. They thought that was the peak. Then Wu Yue appeared. Driving an oil tanker. Straight toward the burning tyrant. The elder's eyes widened. He's going to crash. The tanker slammed into the monster. Then the tank's main gun fired. Boom! A brilliant explosion erupted. A small mushroom cloud rose into the sky. The conference room froze. One elder shot to his feet. Forbidden spell. Another slapped the table. A forbidden spell triggered through some kind of material. Incredible. So that substance stores magical energy. Or perhaps it's a special alchemical catalyst. Creative. Extremely creative. The old men stared in fascination. They still couldn't imagine that none of this involved magic at all. Li Yung rubbed his forehead. Almost there. Then the smoke cleared. And the tyrant's third form appeared. The room went dead silent. The elders stared. One finally whispered, "That's unbeatable, isn't it?" Another swallowed. To create a monster at this level, you would need divine power. Or at least an artifact-grade holy object. The footage answered him. The tyrant tore into the tank. Metal armor was ripped apart. The adventurers inside were eliminated almost immediately. The old men stopped trying to comment. Then came the police station. Countless weapons opened fire. What the elders still insisted on mentally categorizing as high-level magic hammered into the tyrant. It kept moving. It smashed through defenses. Destroyed structures. Then a rocket struck the armory. BOOM. Another mushroom cloud. Another massive explosion. By now, the elders were numb. One sat with his mouth slightly open. Another had completely forgotten his tea. A third was staring at the screen like it had personally offended everything he knew about dungeon construction. Then the footage moved again. The swollen third-form tyrant chased Ruoshu through the city. She moved between buildings. The tyrant followed, and every time it reached an obstacle, it simply destroyed it. One building, then another. Concrete collapsed. Steel twisted. Entire structures came apart under raw force. The elders slowly stopped looking numb. Because numbness wasn't enough anymore. One of them felt his scalp tighten. Another leaned so close to the projection that he almost left his seat. A few minutes earlier, they had come here to lecture Li Yunk about wasting resources on a nobody. No, none of them remembered the lecture. They were too busy watching their understanding of dungeons get dismantled one building at a time.
So, sadly, I have to end this part here. 46 minutes is already way past my limit. This took me so long to make. But hey, I want to hear from you guys. Do you prefer this slower style of narration, where I take my time and let the story breathe a little more? Or should I go back to my old style where I just rush through the chapters and keep things moving? Seriously, do let me know what you prefer, because it'll help me decide how I should continue the story.
Okay, that's the end of this part, but I promise there's much more to come. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing so you don't miss the next part.